start of a new beginning. Time has come to refine yourself and let go of the demons in your head that have held you in captivity for so long. It's time to flip the page and prove them wrong. It's time for rebirth. Yeah, time's up to say goodbye to all the haters, doubters, and non-believers trying to bring you down. In the blink of an eye, you'll realize that there's so much more to the book than the page you were stuck on. Finally, you will be free to live a life you love living instead of the life you think other people want you to live. Remember, you are the highest authority when it comes to knowing what you want and what you love. So stop trading yourself for the approval from others. Ladies and gentlemen, weirdos and geeks, please repeat after me. I don't give a fuck.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
It back up. There we go. Good job. All right, guys. We're joining. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. Yes, I know the mic was messed up. I had to reboot my computer, and I did not start my voice mod application. Totally my fault. No one to blame but me. It is what it is. So what we've got, guys, tonight is we have Scott, Fabian Liberty, debating non-fawn and Lactoid debating liberal something or the other. We're going to critique this live, listen to the arguments, give some input, talk about it. Hopefully, get I don't know how long this will last. We'll see how long it goes, but this looks exciting. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up on the screen.
And
there we go.
Theory behind the idea behind charging them as felonies was
this way.
Well, the law allows us to charge them as felonies
that way.
if they're done with
go.
the intention to commit some other crime. Now,
all right, we've got Scott's chat up on screen now. Can you guys hear them? Okay.
You're sending much money. Well, there's as was mentioned, there's 3 theories, 2 of which I have the exact same response for. But
so we have
one is violation of.
This is Lactoid. That is speaking now. He is a libertarian-ish. He's a lawyer. So really, he's only a conservative up until a certain point, and then the lawyer kicks in, and he becomes less of a conservative. Obviously, we know who Fabian Liberty is, and non-fawn is not on the screen right now. So Lactoid and liberal something, I forget his name.
Donald Trump falsified the
left not aware of this shit?
Arguing.
My allegation here is that
they're debating.
All 3 of these utterly fail, and the reasons are pretty straightforward.
They're debating whether healthcare is a right.
Trump made the payments to.
So this is going to be good, guys. It's going to be really good.
I'll tell you, legal expenses is a wide variety of things. Reimbursing somebody for legal expenses can be not only for
it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a great time
for the actual hourly rate, but it could also be for expenditures for a mediator, expenditures for some other third party, like a transcript in order to order like a court transcript. There's all sorts of things that can be fall under legal services, and it's not abnormal for attorneys to front certain bills first. And so there's a couple assumptions we have to make here. We have to make the assumption that Donald Trump knew exactly what these payments for legal services were. Now, if he didn't know, then you obviously can't argue that he had the intent of falsifying this to commit further crimes. So the only, and by the way, it's unclear exactly if he knew for sure, but we have to obviously roll with the assumption that he did.
I'm not really sure here, guys. I think their subject is relates to something else, but Scott and non-fawn will be debating whether healthcare is a right.
Stormy Daniels. The reason why it's not tax fraud, or the reason why the business, transaction falsification wasn't done with the intent of tax fraud, is because he wound up paying more in taxes because of this. When you make payments to your lawyer, that income is taxable, and so. If he just simply made it by himself, it wouldn't be taxable. The idea that he did this with the intent to commit tax fraud just simply makes no sense and is incredible. When it comes to the federal finance violation and the New York election law, it's my allegation that the hush money payments were not done with the primary intent, the but-for intent as required by FICA standards, in order to influence the election, the 2016 election. What's my evidence for this? Well, it turns out that Michael Cohen had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels for several years prior to 2016.
This is a great point. So
May of 2011,
none of the charges against Trump regarding Stormy Daniels or the payoffs make any sense, at least as far as federal charges.
And then later that year in October, Michael Cohen used his influence to shut down a story from Stormy Daniels that was going to be published in a magazine.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. It's going to be a good show. We're gonna do live commentary on this to some degree.
Happened much significant period of time prior to the 2016 election and prior to Donald Trump even announcing his candidacy. Why is Donald Trump interested in stopping somebody talking about their extramarital affair? Maybe because he's married and he doesn't want his wife finding out about the fact that he had an extramarital affair with Stormy Daniels. Or it could affect his business prospects. There's plenty of reasons why somebody might not want to have their extramarital, not intending to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money, which is perfectly legal, by the way, to shut up Stormy Daniels with hush money in order to influence the election. It most likely was done for a different reason, given the fact that he'd been doing it for years prior. the but-for reasoning is essential for federal finance.
Liberal
violations.
Cluck. That's the guy's
Because,
name.
again, we have plenty of things you can do that are not in violation.
So we're in opening arguments, guys. That's why I'm not being very loud.
Hillary Clinton was running for office in New York. She had to move to New York. So she bought a house in New York. She did not report this, obviously, as a federal finance donation, because you can't do that, and it'd be ridiculous if you were forced to do that.
Rose World, I don't know that hush money is perfectly legal, but it isn't the crime that they accused Trump of, which is,
would you have tried?
You would think they would know better, but I honestly
know that Donald Trump was trying to silence Stormy Daniels before he was ever running. So obviously,
by the way, good to see you, Merle's World. Good to see everybody out in the chat.
In order for Donald Trump to not be charged with these 34 felonies, what really the prosecutor is saying is that Donald Trump should have used federal campaign money to pay off Stormy Daniels and reported it. That is what you have to believe as a jury to believe Alvin Bragg's case, which is that, yes, Donald Trump should have used campaign finance money, which is a ridiculous proposition for all the reasons I've said before. Both the judge, the jury, and the prosecution were biased for reasons we'll get into.
Hey, what's up, Smoking Spaceman?
With 15 seconds to spare. We now have a record for longest
Here's
opening here. That I'm sure
this is live, Smoking Spaceman.
In the next round.
I am not on this panel. We are responding live.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes.
The judges,
we're in opening arguments right now.
They're listening, I'm sure, because they're very wise judges that would never just turn off their cameras and run away.
I'm here.
I know y'all. I'm just giving y'all some shit. If y'all have questions, I just want to specify they're all able to ask them.
What's up, guys?
And then
I'm not on this panel. We're doing a live commentary. This debate is happening right now. Lactoid just did his opening argument. Now we're listening to Liberal Cluck give his opening argument.
Is what Donald Trump is on the hook for.
No, so well, technically yes, because in order to establish the felonies, the business falsification needs to be in furtherance of a different crime.
That's a weird opening tactic.
So the question is, why did he falsify the documents? Not why did he pay the hush money?
This isn't an opening statement.
So again,
why would he put that Michael Cohen?
This isn't an opening statement.
That money was going to Michael Cohen for legal retainers.
The hell?
It was for hush money.
I'm not exactly just legal expenses. I'm not exactly sure if that is a misrepresentation. Again, there's plenty of reasons why you might pay your lawyer, hey, legal services, kind of a general broad catch-all. But if we're rolling with the assumption that he intentionally mislabeled this as legal expenses instead of hush money, the answer is very simple, which is that he didn't want to get caught having an extramarital affair.
Okay. So your assumption is that Melania is like going through his business records to look for any type of hush money. Like, why would he put himself at legal jeopardy? In order
this isn't an opening statement. Moderator, come on, man.
I think it's probably pretty clear that he didn't think that he would be in legal jeopardy because it's not illegal to pay hush money to cover up an affair. And not only could Melania have gone through his personal records or his business record, but also Stormy Daniels, who, again, going back many years, at least until 2011, had already demonstrated a habit of trying to leak this for money. And so she gets a check saying hush money on it. You think that that's not going to help her in discrediting Donald Trump?
Well, if she was paid off, then she wouldn't be able to legally say anything.
Yeah, but she did
about the affair.
Well, hold on.
This isn't much of an opening statement.
She was under an NDA that she broke. I mean, this person was a loose cannon. She just ignored NDAs.
Yeah, that would be possible. But the idea that like Donald Trump is falsifying his checks in order to stop Melania Trump, somebody that nobody has any proof of her going through any of this stuff, is kind of really reaching, in my opinion. Especially since Michael Cohen went on the stand and said that this was because of the election. Like he testified to that.
No, I understand. So Michael Cohen and Donald Trump at that point had an incredibly tumultuous relationship. But the answer, and this is the answer that Michael Cohen never gave, If this was done in order to directly influence
Angry Casper, we are watching a live debate.
Silencing
What you have right now is Lactoid and Liberal Cluck. Liberal Cluck is the guy in the almost bowling shirt who is not actually giving an opening statement.
Especially after
he's gone straight to cross-examination.
Tapes came out, and they were freaking out about that. The idea that the election wasn't a part of the reason why they.
So this guy obviously has no fucking clue how to debate.
It's got to be more than just a reason. It has to be a but for, which means that if Donald Trump was not running, would Donald Trump have had Michael Cohen try to silence that story? And the history would seem to demonstrate is even when he wasn't running for president, he had Michael Cohen try to silence that story because, again,
hey, who's in here that's in Scott's server?
Wife finding out, business associates finding out. Again, assuming that this actually was,
we don't know that Melania did it.
It's very possible that Michael Cohen just said, "Hey,
I am a pretty good moderator."
Perhaps he didn't even issue, the payments themselves. He didn't organize the payments himself.
He did organize them.
Somebody jump over on Scott. I have too many windows.
He's on tape talking to Trump about it.
So,
somebody jump over into Scott's where Admiral Gibbs
talk about
comment section and tell him to ask him why
he's talking about how he's going to create the shell company
while we're already in arguments instead of an opening statement
in order to pay the money to yeah.
So
it is a hell of a reach. It is a hell of a reach. Stormy Merle, it is exactly that.
The checks were made, but regardless.
It is watching a live of a live. It's awesome.
To Stormy Daniels.
Well, dude, I like the live commentary, man. I'm this is great.
Cohen for creating shell companies, maybe in violation of certain.
The liberal guy is
nothing on those tapes
literally like
this to happen.
He just went straight for the attack.
Knew it was illegal.
Lactoid laid out clear, concise, thoughtful premises as to why he was right.
A layperson, it's perfectly rational for them to say, okay, that makes sense.
So so you do agree that Trump knows that Michael Cohen had taken out a mortgage on his house in order to pay Stormy Daniels. I
wouldn't agree to that.
And that he was signing over checks to Michael Cohen in order to make him whole. This was a quote from Trump: "Make him whole." That was a repayment to him for Stormy Daniels and not a retainer. You agree that he knows all that, right? At least.
No, hold on. When you're saying it's a little bit of a loaded term. When you say it's not a retainer, again, I think it's perfectly reasonable and doesn't necessarily indicate malintent to pay somebody for legal services, and that legal services covers things like legal bills, but also, hush money, quote unquote, NDA settlements. This is perfectly It's not irrational.
Yeah.
Did Donald Trump have an idea that he was paying out money to have Stormy Daniels get hush money so she wouldn't talk about it? Yeah, I think so.
What I'm asking is specifically the checks that he signed. I think what was it, 9 checks that he signed that this was going to Michael Cohen for legal
smoking spaceman. This is his opening statement. Like he just launched right into the argument. Hey, Mikey Balls, what's up, buddy?
NDA settlements.
How you doing, man? We're watching a lot. We're watching a debate live and commenting on it. If you or Tiki Tack or any of the other known associates would like to come up and be on panel or be do cross commentary with me, that would be great.
Of a separate crime, which I don't think you get to prove that, given that again he paid more in taxes. Crazy that they could that could even be rationally construed as a intent, but also that he had been trying to silence Stormy Daniels' this story since way before he was even running for president, because he's married and he has business properties. Do you think Hillary Clinton does Hillary Clinton get to use campaign finance money to buy houses in New York? Should she be required to do that?
No.
Just because she might run in New York.
Let me jump in here. I got a question from the peanut gallery, right? And their question is to Lactoid here. So, what exactly do you think was wrong since the jury convicted him on 34 counts and all this whatnot? Where exactly did they go wrong in this case? Was it the judge's instructions?
They were told to find him guilty.
The jury's decision. What specifically was wrong? I know you talked about the before, but the chat wants you to clarify how if there's no before, how the jury and the judge come to this conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, so there is I think bias at every level here. during this trial, right?
The
So
Monica
Bragg,
Lewinsky
Bragg,
Foundation
as part of his election
salute
campaign,
to you,
literally
sir.
ran on getting Trump, right? He specified that. The judge had donated money to an anti-Trump cause prior to this, for which he was investigated. And the jury is from a pool of overwhelmingly anti-Trump
Yeah,
voters.
Merle's World. The interesting
Trump
thing
is an
about
incredibly
this
divisive
is that
person,
this was
obviously.
ongoing
He
long
has a
before
history
he was
of
president. Like,
being
this wasn't like
controversial
he became president and all of a
incredibly
sudden
disliked,
he
especially
started
among
acting
urban New
nefariously.
Yorkers.
This was just
And
something
so, yeah,
that he had been
I
dealing
think
with
it's
for
very
quite a
possible
while.
that the
Now,
jury
obviously,
looked
when
at
he
all the
became
evidence and
president,
decided, you know what,
Stormy
I'm gonna
Daniels went,
ignore
you
all
know,
this,
went
you know, history of it.
hardcore and
part of the-
really
part
put
of
the
issue
screws to
too
him.
is, you know,
But I think we
Trump
can
is
all
at-
agree, or we
insisting
should
that
be
he
able to
never
all
slept with
agree that
Stormy
the
Daniels, right?
reality here
I
is
think a
that
big part of this is probably, again, because he doesn't want
this
his wife
is-
to find out.
this is
he going to be as
just
candid
nothing.
about whether or not he
It's
actually committed
less
crimes
than nothing.
as I am? I don't think so. I don't know. He's probably going to be more hesitant to testify to like the, yeah, I slept with her and paid her hush money. So what? What's illegal about that? Because he's kind of stuck in a position where he can't say that. But the question is not whether or not he can say that. The question is whether or not he committed 34 felonies that are only felonies because, you know, hey, we couldn't get them on the misdemeanor, which I think is already a dubious proposition at best. And then we're going to turn them into
All right,
felonies.
cool,
because
ticky
we're gonna
tack. That'd be awesome.
Allege that he committed a different crime, that he falsified.
It is delusional. It is delusional, Merles.
What's the crime?
And you can see, look at the anger in that dude's
used
face. Look at it.
campaign
Just
finance.
look at the anger.
He should have reported
That's what
that
an
as a
angry young man
donation
looks
when he
like,
gave
Merle.
Stormy Daniels hush money. That's what they're arguing. They are saying
hold
that.
on. I think you've got. Did you read the election law that they're accusing him of violating?
No, now we're going to jump to
not today,
election
but
law.
I have read it. Yes, I did a deep dive into this back when I had a prior debate about this. I know one thing.
Trust me, bro. Is his source.
Just trust me, bro. I know one thing. I know one thing for a fact. Like the allegation of Bragg, in order to not have been charged with the felonies, at least according to two of the theories, was that Donald Trump should have logged the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels as campaign expenses. He should have made that public. That's what Alvin Bragg was saying that he should have done in order to avoid the felony.
Which is insane.
That's ridiculous.
Can I read these laws out real quick? I mean, I'm a layman.
Feel free to rebuttal.
Yeah, Lactoid's a lawyer, so maybe he knows something about this. I don't, but it says a person is. This is the I think they call it the object crime. It's the overall crime, the falsifying of the business records. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and when his attempts to defraud includes an attempt to commit another crime and aid or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. So, this isn't even like.
That's
I don't
also
know, maybe
true.
there's some reading in
He
the
was-
law
he was
that
gaming
means
pre-stream.
that it has to be a but for, but that's not the way I read
13.
that law. It just says that if you falsify
Well,
a
you're
business
confused. You're
record-
confused. I can clarify right now. When you're saying, so the intent is specifically to commit the other crime. The other crime, the allegation is campaign finance crime. And what makes campaign finance crime a crime, according to FICA standards, is if you're, but for you running, this expense would have never been logged. So,
this law says it includes the intent. It doesn't say that you have to have that as the sole intent.
No, you have to commit the falsification of business records if you do the falsification of business records with the intent of doing another crime.
It includes the intent. So
No, it has to be. You have to do it with the intent.
With his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime. So even if
He just keeps saying words.
And this other
I'm
crime
just
that you
saying
want to be
stuff.
using these falsified business records isn't the sole reason why you're falsifying these business records, this still can count.
No. But in order for that other thing to be a crime, according to FICA standards, the falsification or the violation of campaign finance, this is a but-for standard. So you're mixing up.
We're not talking about FICA. We're talking about the New York
No, because
it was indicted under.
Look here. In order for this to even be a crime, the federal campaign finance laws, in order for that to even be a crime, you have to establish the but-for. Okay, you have to report it if you only would have paid for this, or you would have not paid for this. But for you running, right? If you are running because
right.
you are running, you're paying for this.
Bro? What does intent mean?
Report it as a donation. Then you run afoul of federal finance laws. Okay, have we established that yet?
I got.
We have not established.
I'm not even talking about the federal laws.
Oh, I got.
Then hold on. Wait. If you're not even talking about the federal laws, then when it says intent falsifies the business records to commit another crime with the intent of committing another crime, What is that other crime?
The New York election laws.
The New York election law, specifically interference in the 2016 election.
17-152.
Well, let me
I have
ask
it up
this.
right
Hold on.
now.
This is actually this is from the chat, one of the chatters. Then I have another question. So this one is going to be first. We'll go with this one's from iCal Rich, right? If Trump's team considered ceasing payments after the election, doesn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Say it one more time.
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election, does that satisfy the but-for standard?
If Trump's team considers ceasing payments after the election.
Yes. Wouldn't that satisfy the but-for standard?
Not necessarily. It would depend if other things were happening prior to this, such as Stormy Daniels violating her NDA.
What? All right. So perfect. That leaves it. I'm gonna let you answer this as well, Liberal Collect. That question, but also I have a second question. This is from I think Fabian's chat here. If you knew that Trump was falsely convicted by a biased jury, what evidence would convince you to call Trump innocent? I think this ties to the first question for you. Like, what do you, would you consider that the but-for satisfactory? And then what, in the second question as well.
Regardless of whether the jury biases, the fact that he signed those checks and that led to the falsifying of false business records to be maintained by the Trump organization, and he signed those checks, there would have to be some sort of proof that the election wasn't a part of the reason why he signed those checks for me to think maybe he might be innocent. And I would have to just look into the other two underlying crimes that Alvin Bragg came up with to see if that was like, if there's
you got to prove
that.
it to me,
And then
bro.
he's
You
innocent
got to
of
prove
the
it to me.
felony, but he's still
it's this
probably
guy.
he's still definitely guilty of the misdemeanor.
If he's innocent, if he's innocent of the felony, you can't go.
Yeah,
the
statute of limitations had come up on that, but I don't even like. Yeah, you would have to. There'd have to be some kind of proof that like the election wasn't his concern when he wasn't concerned about the election when he was signing when he was.
You don't have to prove that it wasn't his concern.
So let me
you
ask
have
you
to
a question.
prove that it
In
was his
2011,
concern.
So
What is it with
out,
liberals in the
October of 2011,
assumption
Cohen,
clause?
Silenced Stormy Daniels' story by threatening to sue the magazine The Dirty. Why did Trump and Michael Cohen try to silence Stormy Daniels in October of 2011?
What does
There's
that
probably
even
plenty of
mean?
reasons why he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011. What I'm saying is that when he tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2015, the election was a part of the reason.
Hold on. So you're saying that there are reasons for why they tried to silence Stormy Daniels in 2011.
Yes.
Were those reasons still present prior to the 2016 election?
Wait, what?
Probably,
What?
yeah.
What?
It
Look
could
at his
be.
face.
Yeah, it's
Look at his
possible.
face. What?
Sure. What evidence do you have that all of a sudden the behavior of Donald Trump would have changed between 2011 and 2015-16?
Oh, it's going down. This dude is going down.
Absent
This
the election.
dude's getting
Do you have
torn
any kind of
apart and he
basis to
doesn't
say that
even
Donald
know
Trump
it.
would have acted differently than he'd
That's
been acting
correct,
before?
Tiki Tack. They are used to being affirmed. Look at that face. What?
I
Wait,
don't know. Were
what?
they falsified records back then? Possibly, yeah.
So we don't.
But the law.
So we don't know that it was specifically to violate.
Lactoid is wiping the floor with this guy.
None of these laws say that there can't be other reasons.
When you say it can't be other
I want you to
reasons,
look at their demeanor,
you're
gentlemen,
saying, well,
ladies.
because he had
Look
other
at their
reasons
demeanor.
where he could have,
Lactoid, calm, sipping his beer,
done his
having a good
actions.
time.
Then the election doesn't have anything.
Liberal,
You mean like
knows he's full of
reasonable
crap,
So
bouncing around like a
what the
pogo
but-for standard is
stick.
so important. If I take a shower
Fidgety.
and then I go to like campaign,
He just can't
should I be
even.
forced to log
Can't
my
even
water bill
believe
as
that he's not
campaign
winning
expense?
right now.
No, because there's all sorts of reasons why I shower. And I'm going to shower regardless of whether or not I'm running. So I can't say, but for the election, I wouldn't shower. The question here is, if Donald Trump wasn't running for president, would he still have paid off Stormy Daniels? And the only evidence we have of Donald Trump,
This isn't
doing
even
this
close.
would be
This
that
guy's
he
getting
has done
just
it in the
pounded,
past when
man.
He wasn't running for president. There is a history here of him trying
I'm gonna
to
be-
stop Stormy
I'm gonna be
Daniels
honest,
from coming out with this
guys.
story. And so if
be
there's
honest.
no reason, there's no change in circumstances here in terms of other considerations why in 2011.
I got to be honest here, guys. So here's the thing. This guy is an idiot. Non-Fon's not an idiot.
criminal.
It's going to be
you gotta
really
prove that he's
interesting
guilty
to
beyond a
see
reasonable doubt. I
non-Fawn,
think that
who is
the proof
basically a
here is incredibly
regurgitator of
insufficient.
information,
It's
just my
very
opinion,
likely, it's very
my
probable, in fact,
observation.
that even if Donald
And
Trump wasn't running for president,
Scott,
he
who
still
really
would have
has
had
a
Michael
deep
Cohen try to silence the
understanding of
story in
all of his
2015.
arguments, and he's very esoteric. It's going to
It's
be interesting to see those two go at it. This is a good warm-up because it's really great, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool, guys. It's going to be
It
awesome.
only becomes okay. Do you agree that the other crime, like when it's saying like intend to commit another crime, that is a alleged violation of federal campaign finance?
No, it's the New York State.
Well, there's three theories. So I'm knocking them down one by one. Okay. We're
Okay,
specifically
but
talking about the federal
let's
one.
start with the one that Bragg said was his most important one, which is the New York State one.
And so we're talking about the New York State one.
Yes.
When he's saying influence the 2016 election.
So hold on, I can read the law.
How is he saying? How is he saying that's influencing the 2016 election?
I'll read the law. It says conspiracy to promote or prevent an election. Any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent
this guy
the
is
election
just
of
getting
any
torn
person
up.
to a public office by unlawful means, such as falsifying business records. And which
What business records were
conspiracy is acted
falsified?
upon
All he
by
did
one or
was
more parties
just
thereto
literally
shall be
show that he paid his
considered,
lawyer.
shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. That is what the state law that Alvin Bragg's hinged a lot of his argument on says.
Yeah.
I added the part about the business records just in case you didn't get that.
So I understand you put that in there, but again, the argument fits with both. The underlying allegation is the same between the federal campaign finance allegation and the violation of New York State campaign, like election laws. The allegation is that this was done with the intention of influencing the presidential election campaign. What is your evidence of this? Because he was doing this before he ran for president. Isn't it possible that he would have been doing this entirely independently of the fact that he was running for president, considering that's what he did in 2011?
Tacticus, bro, you're right, man. Look at that. Was that an insurrection against the state of Oregon? It absolutely was.
Okay,
and yet you never hear anyone call it that.
You agree paying hush money is not a crime?
It's not paying hush money. It's falsifying the
No.
documents.
I know. But just again, walk with me. Paying hush money is not a crime. We would agree.
No.
Okay. So if Donald Trump pays hush money to Stormy Daniels, let's say he's alleged to do so in 2011, you would agree no crime has been committed, right? Just by doing that. Okay. So if he's silencing the story in 2011, and then he's doing the same thing in 2015,
the exact same thing.
How could you allege that he's doing that because of some interest in the election if he's doing that before he even ran?
Well, for one, it's the falsifying of the business records that's the issue. The thing he was indicted on is not paying Stormy Daniels hush money.
Wait, please. Let's just, for the sake of the argument, even though I'm not conceding this, let's just assume that he falsified the business records. Let's just assume it's obvious. Yes, he falsified when he wrote legal expenses. He was like, I know I should be categorizing this as something else, but I'm not. Let's just say that's the case. Okay. Now, in order to make it a felony, to make it even chargeable now at this point, you agree it would have to be done for the commission of a different crime, right?
Which is 17
Yes. That's the one that turns the misdemeanor into a felony.
Yes.
And so that second crime would be, with the intent to commit the second crime. That's important. And
I really appreciate all you guys showing up tonight. This is a special for me. I don't normally do this, but this is going to be great. It's already been a lot of fun. You guys just don't know what you're missing.
Hush money. If he'd been already trying to silence Stormy Daniels since 2011, it seems like his interest in silencing Stormy Daniels is independent from the fact that he was running for president in 2016, because he's been trying to silence her since 2011.
His interest in silencing Stormy Daniels and falsifying the business records, like that's the thing that we're on here.
Smash that like button, boys.
His 2016 election.
Yeah, I echo Scott. Smash the like. Subscribe if you're not. Make comments. Let's talk, guys.
Possible. Give me, please. Do you think it's possible that Donald Trump, when he was making the payments, the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, that the purpose of this, much like the purpose was in 2011 to try to silence Stormy Daniels, was to protect Donald Trump's reputation, wholly independent of the fact that he was a presidential candidate?
Not in 2016, no. In 2000,
what is your evidence of this?
I think because he was running for president, and
But he wasn't in 2011.
The idea that his actions were not influenced by that is.
Let me hold on. Let me just.
They were influenced by that in 2011.
Hold on. I want to ask a question here, just to clarify, because I'm just a little confused. So this took place, from what I understand, right? Is 2011. Is that what y'all are saying? The original sleeping with hush money stuff. Is that correct?
So 2006, I think, is when the thing
2006
happened.
So okay, and then the 2011 was when this was what date exactly? What was that?
It was in May of 2011 that Donald Trump said he was stepping down. He wasn't going to run anymore.
Ticky tack, that's really accurate, brother.
2011.
2011, and then it was October of 2011 that
it's really great.
Daniel's agent Gina Rodriguez leaked the story to the gossip blog The Dirty in October, and then the post was taken down following
Blackwood just walked this kid through,
aka Michael Cohen.
So just for clarification, between 2006 and 2011, was there money paid? Was that the no. So he smashed her in 2006? He paid her at some point between then and 2011?
No.
He
could have, but I don't know. So 2006 happened. He smashed. Then in 2011,
he smashed.
The story's going to get leaked to a gossip blog. And then Trump directs his lawyers, and by the way, this is after he is no longer running for president in 2011. So, and then he directs his attorney, Michael Cohen, his lawyers, to basically go after the Dirty and stop them from publishing the story.
I'm about to ask you a quick question. And either one, it's about to go to you. This is because I'm trying to clarify for something for the audience.
I'm listening.
So
I'm just going to use the bathroom real quick.
My question is, right? So if you agree to those facts, and you can dispute them whenever it comes to you, or it seems to be like if he was sleeping with someone in 2006, and between then and 2011 there was an NDA assigned or something along those lines, and possibly payments made or whatever, and then she's going to leak it. Would you disagree? Do you
remember
think
the lawyer went to prison, guys?
Because he thinks he's going to run for president then, or like all of this was like, what's your argument? That are you arguing that he was planning for presidential run since 2006?
Remember, Stormy Daniels' lawyer went to prison for all of his illegal activities.
I don't think that's irrelevant, because the election, it seems pretty obvious, and by the testimony, and the jury agreed
we'll see. The next argument's going to be is if health care
when he did these things, the election was at least a factor. Now his wife, his reputation,
is health care a right?
Been factors, and they were still factors back then.
So we'll see. K2, how you doing, brother? I hope you're doing well.
He, in 2011, falsify business records in order to cover up the Stormy Daniels story?
We don't know that he falsified the records.
Okay, so there's your evidence that he made a different action, which was falsifying the business records, which is what he's actually was indicted for. In 2016, when he was running for president, the only thing that changed is that he's running for president, and he didn't do that in 2011. That's why it's important for me to keep you focused on the fact that he falsified business records, because that's what he's actually being indicted for, and not the fact that he made hush money payments, because that's not what he's being indicted for.
I'm having difficulty because I thought I made this clear. I understand that he was charged with falsification of business records. You don't have to keep saying it. I understand. Yes, 34 felonies, all falsification of business records that were felonies. The question is, what turns it from a misdemeanor, which can't be charged, to a felony? Well, the allegation is that what turns it into a felony is that it's done specifically to with the intent. Like that means that Donald Trump actually had the intent to commit a different crime.
Yes,
and so did he have, when he was doing that?
He intended to promote his presidential campaign by falsifying business records.
I know you're saying that he intended to promote his campaign. How did he intend to use this to promote his campaign?
By having an extra layer to cover up the fact that he made hush money payments to a porn star.
How does that promote his campaign?
That actually helped his campaign. Can we all be honest here that the fact that he not only did he bang the porn star, but he countersued her for breaking the NDA, and she had to pay him like 140 grand.
So hold on, how is this done?
That helped his campaign. Come on, let's just be honest. What's up, Flow State?
Are you saying that?
How are you doing, brother? We're watching. This is live.
I don't want to.
This is live right now.
Cheater, and not admitting you're a cheating. You're doing this to promote your campaign.
You're promoting a good character. Yes, absolutely. You're hiding something bad you did in order to get yourself elected.
Gotcha. And if you're hiding something bad that you did that you've been hiding since 2011, which you had no intention of running at that point.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with your point.
Yeah. If you're hiding something in 2011 when you're not running, right? Oh, you've obviously got this reason for hiding this, right? Does this you're saying that the idea that he would do the exact same thing and he was doing the exact same thing in 2015, you're saying this is just again in a light. Wait. The exact same thing when it comes to whether or not it's political. The only question, leave aside the fact that he falsified business records for just a second.
That's the whole indictment.
I know. Leave the whole indictment aside then for just a second.
But that's what we're talking about.
Yes. Leave it aside for just 1 second with me, please.
Okay.
I'm trying to establish here. Did he do this? Because the only question is, got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt.
I can't wait to hear this knucklehead's
most favorable to Trump
closing argument.
Is it possible in a light most favorable to Trump?
Yeah, hit the like button, guys. Please hit the like button.
Shutting up Stormy Daniels.
The button, the like. Please hit the like button.
I think it's.
What's up, everybody? This is actually a cool debate.
No, I don't. I do not think it's. I think that.
Hold on. Let me ask you this. Could you
the election was a motivator here.
So let me ask you this then, because that seems to be kind of like the lactose reasonable doubt thing. If you think it's just one of things, what percentage?
Well, they're not trying to understand the insanity smoking spaceman. They're trying to refute the argument that's made through the insanity, which might be insanity.
100%, you think it was just the election? What do you a realistic one? What do you think?
I 100% think that the election was included in his reasoning. There could have been other reasons also on top of the election, but all you need for the
in 2011.
No, 2016.
Oh, okay.
All you need for 17-152 is for him to try and influence the election in this way, to promote himself to become president by committing a crime, which was falsifying the documents, which was he did in order to hide the fact that he was making hush money payments.
All right, real quick. So now before, you can respond. I'll give you 1 minute here to respond. But then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna if y'all have any questions, I'm gonna let the judges ask for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna go into closing. So go ahead and respond real quick. And then let's see what the judges got here.
Yeah. So just to be clear, it's not the standard is not the
idea.
Hey, he's doing the exact same that he did before, and he would have done the exact same that he did before. But here is some other new potential small percentage possibility that he's considering. That's not the standard. Again, the FICA standard is a but for.
We're not talking about FICA. We're talking about the state law.
Hey, let me finish. Jesus Christ. When it comes to the state law, again, it is not this happens to be one minor factor. Hillary Clinton, prior to this, bought a house in New York with the intention of running in that area, and she had to live there in that area. Her campaign had started before she bought the house to run in this area. Is it possible that at some tiny percentage of the reason why she bought the house to run in this area has to do with the fact that she is running for office in that area?
Sure, but Hillary Clinton did commit a crime when buying the house.
No, but she would have ran afoul of federal campaign finance laws by buying the house, or not federal finance laws. She would have run afoul of this specific of the New York law if she had done so by violating FICA laws, which she would have done if your standard is correct.
All right, fantastic. All right, judges, let's start with Fabian. You got any questions for our two of them?
Yeah. So, it seems to be that we're kind of running and looping in this debate on circles on this concept of but for. And so my question is to Lactoid as well as Liberal Clock, right? I think both of you would admit that the likelihood of this coming out in the election is probably at least in part of the motivation or at the very least a good reason to engage in the behavior that he did, correct? So that's the first part. Would you both agree to that? That it's a good reason at the very least to try and hide a potential scandal
come in
the midst of a political election.
Gonna nail it.
Sure.
Yeah, I 100% think that was a part of a big part of the reason.
Well, you think it's the majority reason, right? So when we're discussing the concept of but for, right? The natural follow-up here is if he wasn't electing, if he wasn't in the midst of an election, would this have occurred? And it seems like Lactoid is trying to establish that this would have occurred because he did it in the past. Do you, Liberal Cluck, do you believe that if Donald Trump wasn't running for election, but Stormy Daniels was about to expose again the fact that he was cheating on his wife, that he would have spent some form of hush money and then potentially just said, oh, these are legal fees, so that his wife and media and journalists
they would have been literally they would have been.
Yeah, I don't think he would have falsified the documents because he
they
didn't do that.
would. He literally would have done the exact same thing.
2016, but for the election.
And it's legal to use legal fees to pay people to keep their mouth shut.
And it says this is Stormy Daniels' hush money, or does that check also?
I don't know, but it wouldn't be my responsibility to provide that because that's not a part of my argument.
I mean, if you were arguing the case, it would be. But fair enough. I'm just you saying that he didn't do that, so it is part of your argument because your argument states he did not do that in 2011.
Lactoid said he doesn't believe he did that. Like that was what my opponent said.
I believe he said that he doesn't believe he falsified business records, which he also doesn't believe about 2016. So just, I'm not trying to be an asshole, right? Like,
it's okay, be an asshole, Scott. Be an asshole.
If we got the check from 2011, right, and it said lawyers' fees, would you be like, fuck it, he's innocent, or not?
I would say that the but-for argument would hold more water than it does right now.
That's my question. Fair enough.
Okay. Non-fun, 420. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I guess. So do we need to, in order for there to be a criminal conviction, do we need to prove the but-for intent beyond a reasonable doubt?
It doesn't. By the way, the laws work, written, it doesn't seem like the but-for is even relevant, in my opinion. But Lactoid's a lawyer, so he might.
I know it's non-funds, but do we agree that reasonable doubt is the standard for a criminal conviction?
Oh yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt. But like the idea that he committing this crime it wouldn't be a crime because he would have done it in 2011 without the election. Like it doesn't seem like it would be. It doesn't seem like the way this law is written.
Okay.
But then maybe there's some kind of jurisprudence that says that about this law that wasn't provided in this debate.
Hold on. There is no jurisprudence. This is a novel case. This has been charged against Trump in this situation and nobody else. Right.
So 17-152 has never been charged against anybody?
Not in this way. Not in this way.
Has it ever been like there's got to be?
I don't know. I don't know. It's possible that it was charged in some other potential situation, but it never hasn't been the case where there's been 34 misdemeanors that are been specifically moved up to felonies to get past statute of limitations, with the theories here being that the falsification of business records was, having to do with this kind of like melding with election law. This is a entirely novel situation.
I would imagine.
And so the question is,
let him finish.
I would imagine.
Hold on, let him finish. I'm in the middle sentence, and then you can say something.
Okay.
Again, like I hate to feel like I'm looping here a little bit, right? But the point that I'm trying to like really hammer home here is that but-for is critical to establish any kind of campaign, any kind of actual felony here, because otherwise you fall into like complete absurdity, right? Can you imagine if, let's say Donald Trump writes a check to his water company when he took a shower before he went out on stage? Did he, and the bill, and it doesn't specify, the check doesn't specify, it just says like to water company, doesn't specify what the check is for. And the water company cashes the check. Did he falsify that business record in order to influence the election by making sure that he was scrubbed clean and looked good and looked fresh for the cameras?
There is something important to point out here is that these weren't just like personal checks from Donald Trump's. The falsified records were a part of the Trump organization.
They were not part of the campaign.
It was a part of the Trump. That's why it's a business, a falsifying of business records. It's not his personal records.
Okay, you can alter my hypothetical slightly. Let's say the Trump organization paid a water bill
for his
Trump
water
used.
bill.
Yeah, which, by the way, Trump organization, which Trump owns.
Non-fun. Does this answer your question, or do you have a? You can go if you have another one. Feel free to jump on that.
I mean, I got my answer from Liberal Cluck. He doesn't think it's relevant. But Lactoid, I'm curious. Do you think that we need to prove the but-for beyond a reasonable doubt in order to get the conviction?
I do. I think that you have to prove a but-for. I think that the argument as to, I think that the taxing is ridiculous. The FICA violation, I think that's the one that I think you'd really have to prove, like the but-for. The New York election statute is I think, particularly egregious because the argument is, well, it's a misdemeanor because the actual law and section 17152, quote, conspiracy to promote or prevent election, any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more of the parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. And so you got to prove, like, in order to like establish this, you have to prove that they were conspiring to alter the election through unlawful means, or to promote the election through unlawful means. I don't think that you make it. I don't think you make it that he was falsified business records. I don't think that you make it that he promoted the election. And I think you run afoul of some key legal principles if you're going to try to use the unlawful element of 17152. If you're going to try to wrap in the falsification of business records as the unlawful mean, you're essentially turning a misdemeanor into a felony by a predicate of that requires the misdemeanor to begin with. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, it does, because
you can charge this as a felony in almost every single situation.
You could theoretically falsify business records and not have
Hold on. Non-fine. Did you want to say something else in there before we can move on?
Oh, I said it was okay. You can move on.
Okay, perfect. All right, I would like to give one more question, non-fine, but unfortunately we're gonna run out of time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do closings. We're gonna do the inverse order we did last time. I believe Cluck started. Is that correct? Yeah. And then Ractwood, you'll start. I'm gonna give you. Well, I was going to give you more time, but you're going to get 3 minutes is what you're going to get to go. And at 3 minutes, I'm cutting you off, whoever's still going. So feel free and starting now. I'll give you this will be 30 seconds. All right, I'll leave that. Yeah. So I'll start it now, but this will be 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then I'll just count you down at 10.
Okay. I mean, go ahead and cut me off if I go over. It's fine. So I don't think that falsification of business records has been proven. Again, it's perfectly rational and natural that when you have an attorney, hey, I'm paying you for legal expenses.
I don't understand, Richard. What
intended to hide?
What do you got? What's
something
up?
in any kind of illegal way? I think it's probably the case that he was saying, hey, like don't specify exactly what it was for. I don't want my wife finding out. I don't want other people finding out.
Closing arguments here.
That's perfectly
I apologize.
When you write a check to lawyers for legal expenses, they don't necessarily have to specify in that check all the different things they charge for: writing motion,
I'm not really sure what echo
oftentimes
we're talking about here. Can you help me out?
That's perfectly natural and perfectly rational.
An invite to be on stage
done with any intent to falsify. And even if you could somehow prove that this was the case, I think that
have to ask one of the moderators.
Misdemeanor.
I haven't actually. I don't know that I put the link in the mod chat.
And so the only way to bring back the statute of limitations, sort of bring the case back to life, is to turn it into felonies. And the three theories presented by Bragg, I think, fall on their face independently. The tax issue wasn't even talked about. I think that was relatively conceded. He paid more in taxes. There's no real reason why you would want to conspire. Like, it would make sense to intend to commit tax fraud to pay more taxes. Definitely not beyond a reasonable doubt. When it comes to violation of FICA,
you need to be vetted by the mods.
The New York law. I don't think there's actually evidence here that this was done with the intention of altering the campaign. I think this was done very much along the same lines as he did before in 2011. If he didn't do this in 2011 and he had just let Stormy Daniels do whatever right up until his election, maybe you could argue at that point that this was done for a specific electoral purpose. But I think the smoking gun here is the fact that before he was running,
I don't think he knows what it is.
Has nothing to do with this campaign whatsoever.
It's funny.
Michael Cohen and his lawyers were going after Stormy Daniels to try to silence the fact that she was talking about an extramarital affair.
Which might be insanity.
100%. You think it was just the election? What do you?
Realistically, if they're married and if they have a bunch of business, especially if they're married. And the New York election law, I think that you have a contradiction law if you're using this to turn a misdemeanor into a felony by appealing to the misdemeanor itself. And I also think that if you're going to say it's due to some other unlawful purpose specified in 1715, you have to prove FICA and you have to prove the tax fraud, neither of which I think you'll be able to do. This was because of a biased judge, prosecutor, and jury. I think that Donald Trump is not guilty of 34 felonies, and I would have voted against his conviction if I was part of that jury.
Right, fantastic. All right, we just reset this, and Clark, you got the last statement here, and then we'll have some judging, and I'll tell you how the judges work. All right, fantastic. Go ahead.
I think that the idea
All right, did
that
that
the
help it out?
judge, all 12 members of the jury, and the prosecutor in this case was just all biased against Trump, and that's the only reason why he
It could be on their end. I
convicted,
don't hear it,
is
but it could
way
be
more
on their
fantastical
end.
than the idea that Donald
Let
Trump
me know if you
falsified
guys
those
are still
business
hearing it.
records in order to help promote himself in his 2016 election. Lactoid said that the smoking gun is that he didn't is that he tried to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels in 2011. Therefore, there's
Let me
no
get.
but
I gotta
for,
jump into
with
Discord. Give me
the
1 second, guys. I gotta
the
give the link to
17-52, the New York
the
election law.
moderators. So
However,
they have it.
Donald,
That's
there
my
is
bad.
no
Not
evidence
that's
that
not
Donald
on them.
Trump,
That's
that
on me.
Lactoid has been able to bring up that Donald Trump actually falsified business records in 2011, which would be a new act in which he committed in order to promote himself to be president. So the fact that he actually paid hush money isn't what's on trial here. The fact that he falsified documents, which the 9 checks and the other 33 documents, the invoices and ledgers, they were all presented to the jury.
All right, there we go.
Goodness gracious. Sorry, I had a chat come in. Yeah, so he says that falsifying business records was not proven.
Yeah, I have the best audio for sure.
Not all of them do, but
well, I'm
they have his
restreaming
signature
their
on them
stream
with the falsified reason for paying Michael Cohen. It just seems so cut and dry to me. I'm not it's pretty obvious that Trump signed those checks. It's pretty obvious that he put the wrong reasoning on those checks, and it's pretty obvious that he did so in order to hide the fact that he slept with Stormy Daniels and paid her hush money before the election.
Fresh Air Ministry, yeah, I'm not really familiar with you, so I'd be glad
to you still got 1 minute.
put you up on as long as you're not going to misbehave or anything.
Chat. So here's what we're doing. We're going to put the voting. Chat. Y'all vote on who.
The mods have the link in Discord.
Who won?
And you can
real simple
you
there.
can get with them to get it. You may have to go to Discord.
All right, y'all
or
DM me each
do
who
something
y'all think won
to get the link from them.
and then we'll announce at the end of the
So
show.
let's do a vote of our own. I think
to the other
Lactoid
debate,
wiped the floor with this guy.
Is healthcare human right with our boys?
He couldn't even define how the law was broken. He just kept saying that he
the very
broke
first one, maybe
business
many
law.
years when we're all rich and famous,
If you can't
y'all will
define
be
and
able to
tell
look
me
back
how
on
the
this
law is
day
broken,
and
then you
say y'all were the first ones
can't
in
do
the
that.
inaugural tournament with pride.
Fresh Air Ministry, this is the first time I've done a live in-person
Always got to be a
review.
first winner and loser. So anyway, moving on. Thank you all so much for being here. Shout out y'all's channels while we wait before we switch over. Tell us what you got.
Scott.
Oh yeah, I'm Liberal Cluck on Kick and YouTube. Lactoid, thank you so much for debating me. It was fun.
Yeah. No, thank you for talking. Lactoid TV. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right, fantastic. All right, boys, y'all ready to judge? I'm excited to hear. Y'all, as like
I
before,
appreciate
y'all
that,
be thinking
Fresh Air
of questions.
Ministry.
Y'all can chat. If y'all have questions, send them in.
Yeah, if you
I'll try to get them in.
if you can just
if I think they're good,
hit one
unless
of the
they
mods
answer or
on
something,
Discord.
sometimes
Let
it
me give you the Discord link
perfect.
while I'm
Thank
at
y'all
it.
so much. Once again, we'll announce the winners at the end. Y'all two get ready to judge now. If y'all want to turn off your cams, that'd be fantastic. Or you can stay in here. I don't really give a shit. And look menacing to more people. That's always good. Stare them in the eyes. Let them know that you're judging them. Either one's fine with me. All right, fantastic. Who wants to start here? Do we want to do a coin flip?
It doesn't matter to me because I wrote an opening statement because that's what you should do.
Yes.
So if non-fun, did you write an opening statement? Because if not, it might be easier for you.
Yeah, I did write one. It's
perfect.
Okay, well then we'll do a coin flip.
Then we're just gonna do coin flip. I just had a voice crack. And then non-fun, you're gonna be heads. All right. So somebody remember what I just said because I'm sure my ADHD will make it forget. It's tails. So Fabian, you're going first here. Wow, I didn't forget. I'm proud of myself. Much better than the first time we did this. All right, go ahead. You got between 5 to 7 minutes would be the optimum. If you go over 7, I'm cutting you off.
All right, fair enough. Healthcare is not a human right. To claim so is a claim that contradictions are true, as healthcare requires the labor and resources of other people, and if it is indeed a right, it is a right or entitlement that infringes upon the liberty of others, or a positive right. Positive rights are not a freedom or liberty, but instead imposed upon others with violence. In other words, for healthcare to be a, quote, right, you must deny the right of bodily autonomy, property rights, freedom of association, and for individuals to negotiate wages and prices for their skills, labor, and property. If healthcare and positive rights are to be justified, one must claim that men do not have liberty to act according to their own volition and may be forced into slavery for the greater good. Thus, the claim that healthcare is a human right is a claim that might makes right and is a contradiction with human rights. If enough people collectively decide that you have too much money, they can steal it at any point of a gun, and then turn those same guns on hospitals, doctors, nurses, and more to force them into servicing those that they do not wish to treat, force them to cut costs, force them to divest in research, and force them to set their prices. The concept that healthcare is a human right is not based on logic or inalienable rights. Rather, it is based on using violence for presumed outcomes. It is consequentialist nonsense that attempts to run from the fact that their position is that the power of politicians and guns make what is right and wrong. But the devil is in the details, and the devil deserves his due. Most people can agree that healthcare is expensive, that many lose in the game of life, unable to afford basic care they need to thrive. How ought we deal with this reality? At first, a small tax increase to subsidize care, or better yet, doing away with the capitalistic healthcare system that preys on those without the funds to fight insurance claims, and that uses a profit model on a good that is essentially infinitely elastic is a good idea. After all, it's not like you can shop around for the cheapest surgeon with the best Google reviews to remove a bullet from your lung. The violent consequentialist that believes might makes right will argue the system is broken and we ought to sacrifice a portion of our wages and property to gain access to affordable health care and to subsidize those less fortunate so that they can have the opportunity to recover from their ailments and become productive members of society and our economy, all leading to a more productive and moral society. Everyone benefits from this. It's a nice sentiment if you ignore the axioms, and even a better fantasy. First, I'll acknowledge our healthcare system is broken. It is far too socialist, a Frankenstein's monster. Healthcare used to be private enterprise of family doctors who catered to the rich, but with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, many workers soon banded together to form the lodge system. These disgusting working class people began to form collective associations that paid for doctor services and negotiated wages with the powerful elite. So the AMA was created in 1847 to fight this influence, and since 1910 has been a pseudo-government organization limiting the graduation of medical professionals in America. Healthcare is the most regulated industry in America, from the FDA, CMS, HHS, NIH, state boards, the Joint Commission, OIG, NPBD, and on and on. Insurance companies are forced to cap profits, accept terminally ill patients, and still have a fiduciary responsibility to the state-based pensions that fund them. Medicare and Social Security programs are too long and complex to list and drive up costs.
Hey, Lindsay Smith, good to see you in the chat.
Can legally be built in most states without years-long certificate of need boards. But even
folks, if you do not belong to the Discord, I did post the link. Scroll up, hit it, go join the Discord, and
European-style socialized medicine.
You get all the cool benefits that go along with that. Mostly just hanging out with me.
No one can predict the future, and the choice to violate human rights with the creation of socialized healthcare should never be based on outcomes, price, or innovation. Nevertheless, the socialists will claim that programs like the NHS are cheaper than American healthcare, and thus save us all money. This is a lie. Data on healthcare costs is highly influenced by academics, government officials, and benefactors of the current system, i.e. the rich and powerful. They often cite the price of healthcare instead of the actual cost. Insurance companies rarely pay the black book price of hospital services. In fact, the only people who regularly pay the full price are you, through Medicare. Furthermore, Cadillac health insurance plans and medical freedom mean that union workers offer superior health care plans in private hospitals, and millionaires spend millions on experimental interventions. Data is again scarce, but likely well over $1 billion in medical debt led to bankruptcy each year in America, with over $220 billion in medical debt existing in 2021, which is, of course, passed on to others who do pay. That's part of the cost. American health care offers supreme outcomes compared to other countries. When comparing demographics, America is ahead of the world in infant mortality.
Folks, if somebody wants to come up and provide commentary with me, that would be great. Non-Pon's actually a really sharp dude. This should be a much better debate than the opener. Save the best for last, and this should be legit.
Die on waiting lists for care. A sad
let's see what happens.
That's potentially 63,000 dead Americans. And while there is a large overlap in these categories,
cool, Tiki
let's assume they're all unique citizens. So let's compare that metric to the estimated 120,695 people who died in the UK on waiting lists in 2022. Recent studies suggest the number may have been doubled in 2023. But let's stick with these. There are currently 67 million people living in the UK and 331 million people living in the US. This means that per capita rates of deaths from lack of insurance and death on waiting lists combined is over 9 times higher in the UK than in the US. Even when we stretch the numbers to the highest possible estimates for the US and the lowest possible estimates for the UK. Even with our unique gun deaths and a country that is bordering on morbid obesity, and I mean over 9 times more likely to die from the NHS than you will be from the American healthcare system. I'll skip this next paragraph. We'll get into it later. In summary, healthcare is not a human right. It is a socialist claim to might makes right based off of faulty reasoning and poor evidence. It is a contradiction that is not only false, but evil.
Right,
claiming
Lindsay?
that man ought be enslaved and stolen from by the point of a gun, so long as enough people can be led to believe that it is
the man brings
it has no
the
logical
heat.
grounding, even though its own obsession with empirical evidence and belief that ends justify the means. The argument falls flat to show that anyone's life would be improved.
Let's see
by
what
treating
Nonfon
healthcare
has
as a
to say.
human right.
Now, Nonfon is a member of the
false statement to claim that healthcare is
DGG.
a
A
human
lot of
right.
his
I would
arguments
prefer
come
to live in a
directly
country
from the
where some
DGG
9 times more
playbook.
people will die
It's
from
going to be
poor care,
interesting to
ballooning
see
national debt
what
when we're
he
already
says.
$37 trillion in debt.
Can't
and a
wait.
loss
Let's
of
get into
innovation
this. It's going to be
leading to
great.
countless
Let's
future
go.
deaths.
It's going to be
Healthcare is not a
great.
human right.
All right. Actually, you were shorter than Lactoid. So I lied. Lactoid's still longer. All right. Let me just reset this here. And whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I entail negative rights of people because I think it improves society. In the same way, I entail positive rights of people because I also think that they can improve society. So the way I interpret prompt is essentially, is society better off with some type of universal health care? To which I think the answer is yes. There's a lot of goods I don't think people are entitled to, you know, like a new PS5. The cost of providing everyone with a new PS5 is very high, not just in dollars, but in the in market inefficiencies you're going to cause. The benefit's also pretty small. A lot of people would barely benefit at all just because they don't play video games or they already have their preferred system. But with necessities, however, I think society...
Is he talking about
overall
video
works a lot
games right
better.
now?
Suffering is generally reduced if we ensure
The
some minimum amount of access to it. With a lot of other, with you know, other
Wahoo,
necessities, we
he's a
already do this to some
youngster.
extent
That's
with things
probably
like food stamps
a
and income
pimple.
security
You remember
programs.
those?
We could do it with healthcare via public
He's a young
option
man.
or a single
He is a
payer
young
system.
man.
Ensuring equitable access to healthcare, it's something I'm willing to pay some price for in terms of market inefficiencies. Luckily, I don't think the cost here is that high because the market for health insurance and healthcare fails for a few reasons. There's barriers to entry, there's information asymmetries, there's positive externalities, there's inelastic demand, in some cases, arguably even perfectly inelastic demand. When Fabian says people aren't entitled to healthcare because it requires stealing from other people, he's jamming in his definition of entitlement into his definition of stealing. Taxing someone is only aggressive if you believe the money being taxed belongs to the person it is being taxed from. That's a claim about entitlement, not a claim about aggression.
Well, I was short. Is he done?
Is that it? Okay, perfect.
Oh, he's
All right.
done.
I just got me there. All right, cool. Let's open it up. Y'all can go at it.
I think it would be best if we first start the first portion on the philosophical grounds of what is
Oh boy.
a right, right? And then maybe we can move into
Oh boy.
internal critique of your position, right? Which is that
Scott's literally telling him
the
how we're
outcome
gonna
is the
argue
interest of
this.
is that fine by you?
Sure. I don't know how far we'll get with that, but sure.
Well, I mean, like at a certain point, we should cut it off because the philosophy just gets too boring. But my
Don't
question
worry about
is,
that. I got you on that, Papa.
Yeah,
Sure, but
fair
where I
enough.
think this is going is you're going to tell me that you believe that we do have some rights, and the claim that I'm going to make in response is that if your system is just claiming that we do have rights, that you know, liberty is a right, it doesn't really tell me what I ought to do about that right, and that just is
You're
not
correct.
a very
Negative
ethical
rights
framework for
don't
me.
make negative rights do not make ought claims. That is correct. They don't.
His
claim to
original
make ought
opening was
claims.
longer.
That's why in my
He
opening
didn't.
statement I said, "What ought we do about this problem?" Right? Because there are plenty of ought things that you can do about this problem. Right? But your claim is that healthcare is a human right. So, and then your definition of a right is an entitlement. I presume an entitlement like, where does that entitlement come from? Is a utilitarian calculus? Like, how are you calling something a right whilst denying the existence of rights? At least in my framework,
Well, I deny
and how
the
they're
existence of
traditionally
rights.
defined.
I said in my opening, I deny the existence of rights like as an intrinsic thing that just exists. But with a utilitarian moral framework, I think there are norms that we can establish and make society overall better off. Some of that is negative rights.
Okay, but
some of that also is positive rights, like a right to education or a right to healthcare.
An ethical norm is not a right. Okay, those
Well,
are two different things. So you agree with me that healthcare isn't a human right because you don't have a concept of rights based off of the definition. Like, can we just like wrap it up and say,
defining rights in your own way?
We're having a different discussion.
I don't see why rights necessarily have to be something that's like intrinsically true. I think rights can just as easily be something, you know, provided to people by a state or by a constitution. I don't see why we have to use your special definition of rights.
Okay, so you agree that you are positing the fact that might makes right. That if enough people get together and use violence and force, or potentially argumentation with a latent background effect of violence and force, that if enough people get together and force that, they can choose what rights are and what rights aren't. So you would agree, for example, and I know this is such an internet meme, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's funny, right? Like, you would agree that like Hitler didn't violate the rights of the Jews when he put them in internment camps and killed 6 million of them, give or take a few numbers in case there's a few spurgs in chat, right? You would agree that that was not a violation of human rights, that it was actually perfectly fine what he did because he was democratically elected and he had the will of the people under his democratic election, and he did so with a government that had that goal.
Well, I don't think it follows that just because some rights are provided by states that it follows that those rights are the utility maximizing rights. Like I would say, generally, we should try to maximize human well-being. Obviously, the rights that Hitler provided did not do that because the rights explicitly allowed him to kill Jews and homosexuals and disabled people.
Okay, so your claim is actually that rights do exist. Objectively speaking, there is a right, and that right is based upon
he's getting hammered,
we're attempting to guess with utilitarian calculus.
Sorry, I had to answer
what those rights
my
are.
wife.
So you believe that through utilitarianism, there is a convergence here where we're actually discovering rights that do exist independent of what the state does.
He is a DGG orbiter. He is part of the DGG.
I just want to ask this because I think this is going to tie in to non-fraud. I'll ask this.
Welcome, Charles Darwin. I see you out there. Welcome to all the people who are just turning up.
What was it? Societal norms or societal whatever becoming rights. You said there's not really a substantive difference at some sort of standard. And right now you're talking about discovering rights, which was the question I was going to ask David is like, is there a sense that all rights have all been discovered or does like over time new rights can be developed based off whatever? I'll let y'all go from there. I would like all that cleared up. We can start with you, non-fraud, and then go back to Fabian here.
I mean, I guess,
Or let him go first, then you go.
Saying like discovering rights kind of like presupposes that like rights are this like kind of magical independent thing that exists. I don't see why that necessarily has to be the case. I just think that there are entitlements and rights that we can afford to people in society that are utility maximizing. I also think that there are things that we should give to people in society that are not utility maximizing. I support giving people to ones that I believe are utility maximizing that lead to the best outcomes based on probabilistic knowledge, as Fabian will love to point out.
Okay, but
Fabian
here's
believes
the problem.
that they're
But here's the problem,
magical.
right? Is that, they're not magical, they are intrinsic. And the reason I believe they're intrinsic is, going to be a much, much longer conversation about, my libertarian philosophy that I don't think is helpful here, right? But I just want to state, right? Like, you agree that Hitler incorrectly guessed via the utilitarian calculus what the correct right was. So the right is independent from the politicians, independent from democracy, independent from the will of the people. That there is a right that exists, that is a rule.
Non-find's just being led down the rabbit hole further and further.
Will be under your
look at him bounce. He's one or two too many monsters
or,
today.
Whatever arbitrary means by which you view
have you noticed that
a positive outcome.
The conservatives are always like really laid back and calm, and they just explain their shit.
That it has.
The liberals are like bouncing off the fucking walls.
I don't think
Look
that
at
follows.
this.
You saying
so
that
then
like
Hitler didn't violate any rights.
I think the rights that Hitler supported were not utility maximizing. I don't see why it necessarily follows that rights therefore have to exist independently of what the state provides or whatever. There are things I think the state can provide that are utility maximizing. There are things I think the state doesn't provide that aren't utility maximizing. It just doesn't follow. You saying that like Hitler incorrectly guessed what the correct rights were equates to me for just saying like Hitler did something immoral, and like I agree, buddy. Good job.
So by your definition, by your framing of this, right? You're saying Hitler didn't use the right rights. He didn't give the right rights that would have been
He did not give utility
maximizing
rights. Yes.
Exactly. So there's only two options here as far as that conversation goes. Either A, which I've presented before, which is that rights exist independent of the state, and that whatever the thing is that is, utility maximizing, a rule that you could create for society that is utility max exists, and the state can get it wrong, and that is an objective metric out there somewhere. You deny that there isn't a right answer, right? Which I don't know how you could claim that there isn't a right answer, because you would be arguing for a right that doesn't currently exist, which is healthcare as a human right, or B, right? So that would be a contradiction in your own argument, and thus you would lose the debate from that.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do.
Well, let me finish. Let me finish.
Well, I haven't let you finish. I haven't let you finish. Here's what I'm just saying. I want you to finish.
He's still shaking, guys.
And then if we can't agree to right, then I'm going to define right. So go ahead and finish.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Take your time. Yeah.
And then, or B, if Hitler discovered, gave the wrong rights, what you were saying is that rights are simply an amorphous thing that the state
see. I don't agree that the
determines,
government is utility maximizing or even rights maximizing. I think that at best it just screws everything up, and provides a responsible party for
policies that the state
the screw ups, basically. I don't know. It's
and so the state could claim anything as a right, and you would say that meets the definition of a right. And therefore, your argument isn't healthcare as a human right. Your argument is we ought to have socialized healthcare because I believe that it's utility maximizing, and you're kind of just dispensing with the entire concept of rights. So which way would you prefer to lose this debate?
Which way would you prefer to lose this
when you say like the rights? Again, I think rights are something that can be entailed to people by society. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a state. That certain rights are going to maximize utility more than other rights. I'm going to support giving people a right.
Which way do you want to lose the argument?
Because the state
Tiki Tack did. Tell me you heard that, brother. Tell me you heard that.
Yeah,
in the sense that
this has also been a wild show.
That was brutal, man. That was absolutely brutal.
That's your argumentation here. I gave you the two.
Which way do you want to lose this argument?
And then you just didn't actually explain why it doesn't logically
follow.
That is
cold. How are you tonight, sir?
In both of those.
I'm doing fine.
Setting that.
I sound my audio is echoing.
Healthcare is a human
You're
right,
okay.
Right? It's a positive right.
You're a little bit echoey, but it's not that bad.
Created the largest per capita
getting
labor
feedback
union that ever existed in history. That'd be one.
I'm not getting feedback on my end, but I'm not listening to the YouTube side, so I don't know.
Forcing capitalists to have a state.
Guys, is he's echoing? Yeah, you're echoing.
That answers to the will of the state would be another form of a right here. Now, is that the right, or is that the wrong right, or is it that that's just a right because Hitler said so? Actually answer the problem.
All right, while he's doing that, $9.99 comes in from Wrongful Rage. That was fire. Which way do you want to lose the debate? That was that is cold. That was just brutal.
Fine, right. All right, so y'all go ahead. You go ahead, non-fraud, go. That way we can move on.
That was bad. Thank you, Wrongful Rage, for that $9.99. That was that was cold-hearted.
Well, you believe in positive rights.
Bad echo.
Right. So
you believe in positive rights.
Right, so you believe you believe that
they're talking over each other, so it may not be echo.
Can be sacrificed, and that people can be forced.
So I don't think it's my side.
Forced to give up their property in order so that others can benefit. Right, and so one example that I gave of that,
you're jamming in your theory of entitlement, which is that people are entitled to what they produce and they're entitled to their own body. You're jamming in all these other entitlement theory things into your.
No. If you listen to my opening statement, right?
Let me.
I claim that it was a contradiction, And I said the reason is a contradiction is
How's
because
that?
you would
Is
have
that
to
any
get rid
better?
of all of these negative
Hello?
rights. In order to
Yeah, I
prove
can hear
positive rights
fine.
are true,
Echo.
you have to get rid of those negative rights. You cannot simultaneously say, "Hey, I have a
they
right
say
to
that
my
you're
private
echoing
property, and
horribly.
I have a
let
right
me
to
see.
set my
I'll
wages
leave
and
and
labor
rejoin.
at whatever
Yeah,
fucking price I
see if that
voluntarily
helps.
choose, and at the same time say the government has a
was
right
weird.
to take some of your private property and to control what those wages are so that other people can have health care. Those two things are contradictory.
Do you see
have
how
to
the
give up one or
disagreement
the
here
other.
is over the theory of entitlement? Because you
That was
believe
very
people are
strange.
entitled
Sorry,
to
so we
okay,
still
so-
got an echo
in
with
my
just me
view,
here.
people are entitled to more than
Are
just
we
these negative
echoing,
rights.
guys?
Stealing from someone is only stealing if you
It's not
believe
more.
that they are entitled
okay,
to
so
that
hold on,
right.
hold on,
Contradictory.
Yeah,
It
okay.
can be more.
Hold on,
It's
hold on,
either
hold on.
or.
Hold on. Here's what
It's
we're gonna
okay.
do. I'm just gonna pick a definition. We're gonna use the Black's Law Dictionary because I don't know why not. I don't get to use it enough anymore. So we're gonna give you all two definitions, and that's how we're gonna use for going forward. That's how we're defining right. That way we can just move this conversation a little bit forward past this this sticky point. All right. A right that belongs, and we're gonna do absolute right. A right that belongs to every human being. It's a right, a person's liberty, a natural right. Two, an unqualified right, specifically a right that cannot be denied or curtailed under specific conditions.
What's
All
up?
right, Ticky
All right,
Tack. How's that?
that's what we're gonna
Guys,
go with.
is Ticky Tack
Have
echoing?
at
Well,
it.
it's two definitions, and the
Say
first one
something.
is
I mean,
the
yeah,
natural
I
law,
think
which is my definition, and the second
the
one
same
is one that
definition.
states that a right. Well, there's two definitions there, and the
Keep
second
talking.
one is his, and the first one is mine.
Hello.
Yeah,
Great.
basically.
No,
I
there's
mean, I
still
don't
a
like. I
echo.
don't have a big problem.
There's
with the
still
second
an echo?
definition.
See, I
Yeah,
can't
like,
hear
it's
an
something
echo
that
on my
cannot be
side.
denied to people.
I don't want
As
to
of now,
distract people
healthcare
from the
is
debate,
something
so
denied by
I'll
the
probably
government
just
run in the
fall off
private
really
market.
BB.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk
Is
about
that
it after. They're going to end up.
universalizable?
They've only got it
Is
like
that
a few minutes
universalizable?
left.
You
So
cannot
I'm
deny
sorry, man. I
healthcare.
was hoping that you could hang out.
I mean, essentially,
Yeah.
I would
And,
think so.
but
Yeah.
we'll just
Okay, so
banter in the
let's say I
chat,
have
and
an
we'll come up and
experimental
we'll review
procedure
this
that
thing.
costs
Sounds
$10
good.
billion.
All right, cool, man.
And it's for a disease that 100 million people have.
So
right? Does
normally,
that
guys,
mean the
I have
United States
just
government
barely
can
started
still
my
seize
show,
all property in the
but,
United States, right? Seize all of the wealth of all of the millionaires and billionaires,
why is
and
this not,
everything. Stop making roads, stop funding public schools, stop everything that the government does in order to ensure that no one is denied
Usually, right now,
that
I'm
$10
30 minutes into my show, but we've already been on for a little over an hour and a half. These guys are going to go
Okay, when
about
you said
another half an hour,
universalizable,
and
my
then they're going
interpretation
to.
was like, can the government
get
actually
this
ensure
done.
everyone can get health care? I think they can, for the most part.
Let's
Right, but
let's
healthcare's a
see
big
what these
term,
guys
right?
have
Talking
to
about
say.
it's a universal. I mean, it's a vague term, but you're actually talking about is the moral statement universalizable? I don't think like the moral statement you have to provide healthcare or whatever is universalizable. I think a more limited statement like
Well, then you don't think it's a right.
utility is
Right,
Well, I
so
think
you
it follows
don't-
from
you
the
obviously
more
don't
limited
believe it's a right if you
universalizable
don't
statement
think it's
that We
universalizable.
should maximize utility. Also, again, when you say all this stuff about stealing, you're jamming into your definition of stealing your theory of entitlement. You don't believe that the government
It's
is
on my
entitled
side.
to things that people make because you believe what people make,
okay.
or people should own what they produce. That's the theory of
Yes.
entitlement. That's not a theory. That's not a theory.
I think it's something to do with
entitlement.
the way
Yes.
Discord
It's
works
a negative
through
right. Yes.
YouTube
Which you
and the
believe
streaming
comes from your
softwares.
theory of entitlement. I have a
Because
different theory
it
of
always
entitlement. I believe
echoes
we
through
entitle people to
Discord.
things that
You
are
just can't get
welfare
rid of it.
maximizing. You believe that people are entitled to, what they produce, and the
Right, so
actual
your
disagreement
argument-
here is over the theory of entitlement. You can't just jam in to your definition of stealing.
Yeah, you're
your
right,
theory
Ticky
of
Tack. That's
entitlement.
exactly what's going on.
I mean, I'm not jamming in anything, right? I'm not sneaking
You
in
absolutely are.
that I'm a libertarian and that I believe and support negative rights. Okay, like I'm not jamming in the existence of negative rights. Negative rights aren't contradictory. Positive rights are. That's like it's quite simple.
Because what you're doing when you say this is again your negative rights apply because you believe people are entitled to what they produce. That comes from your theory of entitlement.
They're
That's
entitled
not-
to their body.
that's not a-
Yes, people have bodily autonomy.
Well, but you also believe people are entitled to their money, and taxation is theft, right? Because you
Yes,
believe
of
people are
course.
entitled to what they produce. So you
Absolutely.
see how that's a theory of entitlement thing. I have a different theory of entitlement.
Well, it's not an
You know,
theory
when
of
you, like
entitlement.
what you're doing
It's
by
a
saying
right.
like all this stuff is stealing.
Rename it
Again,
that
you're
such.
jamming into your definition of
Non-fine,
stealing.
non-fine
just
is
acting in a
he's
way that's
pretty
inconsistent
sharp,
with
and he's
your
making
libertarian
he's
theory
making
of
an
entitlement.
argument. It's
Under
just
my
he didn't know
theory
what he
of
was
entitlement,
walking
acting
into.
in ways acting in ways inconsistent with that are also stealing. But the actual disagreement here is over the theory of entitlement. You can't just keep jamming in. You
Well,
can't
no,
just keep
the-
jamming
the
this
problem,
in.
the
Like,
problem,
let me
the
ask
problem
this real
here
quick.
is that you're claiming a right exists. Okay, and so you can't just say a right is an arbitrary thing that we believe in the future we can predict will lead to better outcomes, right? Like by that metric, you could say that you have a right to ban pornography, right? you have we have a right to remove pornography from existence. Okay, well, what does that mean, right? It's like, well, you must by definition then say that people don't have a right to produce and view pornography. That is taking away, that is imposing with violence their ability to engage in something, right? That you're saying that negative right doesn't exist.
As you believe, it's only violence insofar as you believe.
Here's something, guys, you probably don't realize.
X thing. In the case
So
of
non-fun keeps looking at his screen, and that's because more than likely he has DGG pulled up right now. They're probably in a private chat. They've got like 10 or 15 people in there, and they're feeding him information. I don't know this for certain, but this seems to be a tactic that the DGG guys use constantly, where Scott is arguing by himself.
I didn't make any claim about
he's
violence.
debating
from
his research and knowledge.
Initiation of force. It's only an initiation of force insofar as it's inconsistent with what
be
you
a team player, so to
speak.
Only because you definitionally believe that people are entitled to what they produce. If you
I believe in words. I believe in words that if you take guns
mm-hmm.
and you say, I'm going to take your money because it's actually our money because we say so, that is absolutely force. Like, don't be silly.
Well, let me ask.
You just
Okay,
think the force is justified.
Wait. Can I ask this? I know you've heard this example before. Let's say you're on the the 9th floor of an apartment building that you were, legally allowed to go to. You fall out of a window and you grab on to that person's flagpole, right? And you're like climbing your way down the flagpole, and
mm-hmm.
somebody says, "Hey, wait! I did not give you permission to use my flagpole. Should you let go of that flagpole?"
So. the flagpole.
Would it be an initiation of force? Is that an initiation of force? Is the real question?
It would
Emilio Estevez, that's funny.
Be an initiation of force under natural law, absent any common law existing, which obviously would. Right, so the flagpole analogy in libertarian philosophy is very interesting, and the reason it's very interesting, and I'm glad that you've been learning a little bit about libertarianism and the arguments we use. It'll make you a better person once you finally accept that I'm right. Is that the reason that it's so interesting is because natural law philosophy does not deal with contracts and does not deal with common law. So absent any contract, absent any common law, absent any superficial additive voluntary systems that say that if you're in an apartment building, that debris that falls down, these are the rules in which we live by. Yes, absent any form of lease or contracts or all of those things, it would be a form of aggression to then intentionally move onto someone else's property without their permission, even if you.
Why does non-fawn or whatever voice cracking? Puberty was years ago. His voice annoys me. Even with DGG in the chat,
I'm gonna let you respond to that here.
floundering.
You can respond to that. And then here's the next
he's
question.
floundering because he's trying to use libertarian arguments against a guy who's a true libertarian.
Y'all are arguing on what is the right? Okay, so we clearly all have different opinions on which is better, right? So here's what I want to know: what's the superior? Sell me on it. Sell me on why healthcare should be a universal right versus it should be the greater good. Does it matter if it's the greater good?
Thank you again for the $9.99 wrongful.
However, just sell this to me after that. But go ahead and respond to that, and then let's move on to that non-fun.
I gave a bunch in my opening statement, so
wrongful
I feel like it's
rage.
Let non-fun start.
Always forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he also needs to respond to your last thing. So go ahead. So you respond to that, and then start us with that as much as you want.
I mean, the easy response is just that it's only a violation of rights because he reads into it his system, his preferred system of entitlement.
Yeah, everything's going to be from
his
his
worldview. The person
worldview.
who uses the land for productive purposes owns the land. If you have a different view of entitlement, like my view, that people are entitled to things that maximize utility, then
you're bringing up libertarian thought experiments as a meme and not understanding the full context, because I was absolutely crushing you in the before, so you had to subvert the conversation. But it's fine. Your savior has swooped in to save you. Gibbs wants us to move into an
I was
internal
absolutely
critique of your
crushing
consequential
you.
analysis, right? Because I've already won the first portion of it. So go ahead and give.
I got to let non-fawn respond to that. Non-fawn, you can also respond to that too. But let's I'll let you respond to that. Yeah, and then we go to the theoretical to practical. Go ahead.
I mean, I'll talk about the the morality behind it all day. I don't know what you mean. I mean, if someone just has not read anything about libertarian philosophy, or has only read your version of libertarian philosophy, maybe they think you're winning. I think for anyone of half a brain, they see the insane reductios that your system of property would lead to. But I mean, we can switch to the practical if we want to.
Yeah,
I
go
guess.
ahead.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean,
You go ahead and go, right? Like I said, I gave a bunch in my opening statement.
Oh, sure. I mean, like, it's easy to understand why.
That is Scott,
certain
Fabian
industries,
Liberty.
The market could fail. It could lead to worse outcomes than, if the government intervenes in a market in some way. So, with healthcare, we have the issue of inelastic demand, right?
He was a member of the Crucible for a long time. He was big on
essentially no matter what. Insulin has very
Twitch,
inelastic demand.
and then his account got nuked
heart
or something.
surgery is going to have essentially perfectly inelastic demand in an emergency. If you don't do it, you will literally die. The government can impose price ceilings on stuff with perfectly inelastic demand. And it doesn't have huge negative outcomes. There are also issues with positive externalities. If healthcare is too expensive, people don't go get preventative care. They stay sick more often. They don't show up to work. They are less productive. And there's information asymmetry. There's adverse selection issues. There are all these issues why healthcare could be better solved by a public option with some limited competition than a strict free market system.
So your evidence is I don't want to straw man you. I want to steel man you to the best of my ability, right? Which is
here he goes. Going to steel man
the
the position.
Your philosophical position is, we'll say maybe rule utilitarianism, if I had to guess, right, based off this conversation.
Yeah, I would say broadly rule utilitarianism. Yeah.
All right. So presumptively, you're looking for material outcomes, as well as presumed happiness metric. Right, potentially things like opportunity, right? So I brought these up in my opening, right? I said that it was very close, if not perfectly inelastic, and I said you're not going to search Google reviews for the best, cheapest surgeon in town when you're getting your heart shot with a bullet to remove the bullet, right? You need that done immediately. I don't disagree with that, but that doesn't actually make the argument that government or treating it as a right has any improvement. Your entire response thus far is just a claim.
Chip and Flynn, I'm not sure that you can be more gay than Destiny.
So I guess I'll let you go again.
I actually have some respect for Non-Fon. Non-Fon is really sharp. He's very smart.
Logic and evidence is false.
He seems,
even in my own statement. So do you have
on the
evidence that
he seems on it?
That
it's
it
just
will lead towards
better
outcomes,
and he
that it will
moves
lead towards
between
a happier,
center
healthier
and left
society.
Pretty easily, so
as arbitrary as that is,
we might be able to reclaim him pretty easily. But the DGG,
I didn't
the
bring
lure
it
of the,
up because
of the dark side, the
object to the market
DGG is
failure
strong.
stuff, as libertarians like to do. But you could see
you
how
didn't
the
actually say
government
market
could solve.
failure so much as
I did. I'm pretty sure I said market failure, but
it's fine.
But we have you could see how the government could solve the adverse selection issue if they just mandate everyone get health insurance, right, or automatically enroll everyone onto a specific public option plan.
But he does sound like Destiny. It's hilarious.
So we'll deal with this bit by bit, right? So the government could solve the problem by the adverse selection by forcing everyone to be on health insurance. Now, who would pay for said health insurance?
People via premiums, but also again, when you say force, you're reading into it the definition, your theory of entitlement. So
hey, what's up, Imperius? Good to see you.
Definition of force, you autistic weirdo. When you say we're going to make a law that says you must do this, and then if you disobey that, there will be punishments, and me saying, yeah, they're going to force people to do it. I'm not utilizing force from a libertarian definition. I'm using a colloquial definition. No, you're trying to run away from the question back into trying to make libertarianism appear as a meme because it's not a well-known philosophy to the audience. Fuck that. Answer the question and just think of force as colloquial, which is that it is against the law and that people with guns are going to either take shit from you or they're going to fucking put a gun to your head and put you in a cage if you don't follow said rule. And the rule is everyone must have health insurance. Now, who's going to pay for that health insurance?
It depends on the exact option. I think a single payer system would probably still be a net benefit, but I'm more in support of a public option in which people would pay premiums.
You hold on. Let me just do this. Could you define a net benefit? Like, what do you mean by what is a net benefit?
He keeps saying that. Yeah.
Overall good outcomes relative to the counterfactual.
Okay.
Right. So right, but the problem is that that's arbitrary. Like, what is good outcomes?
Well, I mean, good outcomes.
Well, in the practical, So
I mean, it's going to be somewhat axiomatic. So some people might, define goodness in a different axiomatic way. But I would say generally the well-being of sentient creatures.
Okay.
Okay. So
if I rape you, hold on, pause. If I rape you, right? If I bend you over, I'm 6'5".
Yep.
I've done some martial arts. I've been in the army. I've been through quite a few scruffles and scraps. I've been homeless. I've had to do quite.
And Pierce, we're doing a lot. This is
sure
live. This is a live debate. We're doing a commentary. I'm doing a commentary on it.
Right now, let's say I rape you and I'm really good at getting away with it, right? I can hide evidence like a motherfucker. And then I and I'm also really good at psychological torture, right? Like Ramsay Bolton from like Game of Thrones, right? I'm going to torture you until you become weak, until you believe absolutely that you enjoyed it and that you're my servant. So now you are a servant and you've been psychologically tortured and abused and raped for years on end, but you say that you love me and that you'll do everything for me. I'm super fucking happy, right? Whose happiness is worth more, and by what metric? At the end of it, right? You're absolutely happy now. You're Reek, okay? You're no longer non-fawn. You're Reek from Game of Thrones, and you're now happy, and I'm super happy, right? So wouldn't that be maximizing the well-being of humans in this regard, or would it not be?
Merle's World, it's actually just a straight up debate technique. The more, especially a blood sport debate technique of picking the most
maybe I'm a serial rapist and torturer, and I've done this a bunch of times, and it always works out, and they're always happy.
Well, but now if we're adding in like the real world to it, I've already said
ridiculous hypothetical and get them to agree to it.
Because I believe generally negative rights are net benefit to society. It doesn't automatically mean you can never violate a negative right and have it be a net benefit. It just means, in general, I think establishing these negative rights leads to good outcomes.
How can it be a right if you say that it is morally good to violate it? By what world is something a right if it is also morally good to violate the right? Do you not understand how this is silly?
Non-fawn doesn't know whether he's coming or going.
I think it can be utility maximizing to break a right.
Okay, we're getting back in the weeds of you
steal the penny,
just giving consequential
steal the penny to save the world, or steal the penny to
So
that's violating a right. That's not a limit. That's not a limit case. The Ramsay Bolton one is obviously a limit case, right? But the concept that you believe that it can be morally justified to violate a right means that you don't believe in it as a right. You just believe in it as a rule that
we don't mean the same thing when we say morally justified, because when you say morally justified, you're making an is statement. It is morally justified to do this because non-aggression principle.
You made the fucking statement that you could violate those rights and that it could potentially be good.
Because again, we mean different things by morally justifiable. When I say morally justifiable, I'm talking about maximizing utility.
Okay,
when you say morally justifiable, you mean it's a descriptive statement, not an ought statement. It's not a normative statement.
No, I mean that it has to be universalizable. So you can't call something a fucking right and then say that it is morally good to violate said right. It means that it's not a fucking right. You don't believe in rights. That's fine. We can get away from the discussion of rights. The problem here is that your only piece of evidence that your consequential analysis of a single payer option or that socialized healthcare thus far in the debate that you have put forward is that socialized medicine can use the power of the state to force everybody to be in the healthcare system. You haven't explained why that's good or why we ought to do that.
That's actually a perfect segue. Hold on. I'm gonna let you go in 1 second. It's actually a perfect segue into like what I want, right? So I'm just gonna summarize what I think I'm getting, and then when y'all can correct. I'm summarizing, right? Like, and this is kind of where I want this conversation to go. So y'all, I see Fabian's argued over like, okay, I'm not gonna go through y'all's definitions because, dear Lord, we've been through that a couple of times, right? So,
of course,
my argument is, and this is my question or argument or whatever, is let me see how to put this. So you basically have Fabian's idea of like, okay, people aren't entitled to people's work, and you have your idea of like a collective good.
I mean, I balance a lot too. I'm not saying I don't, but
like real world circumstances. I mean, you
got knocked the
fuck out. Wrong, or if I'm oversimplifying, I'm sure I am. But that being said, okay,
tell me on simplify it for the audience.
Yeah. Thank God. I'm real good at that. Real simple man. So that being said, why? Like,
guys, remember you need to like, subscribe, do all of the things. I keep forgetting, and
everybody. I'm just gonna.
But I'm.
Everybody's better.
Do the like, do the subscribe thing, all of it. Make it happen, Captain. Do comments.
Even if that
tell me that I suck. Tell me that I'm great. Tell me that the stream was good.
Whatever. Point, if you're aggressive, you versus hey, that's not what's happening because of mine. So there you go. Keep that in mind. Let's go from there. How's that? Let's see which one's better, and tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Like I said,
I'm
I
going
gave
to
a punch.
start here. Yeah,
I gave
go
a
ahead,
punch in my opening.
Sure. Well, we'll come back. No, that's right. Go ahead. Sell us on it, and then he can respond.
Tell you
And
why.
also, y'all got about
moral
like 2
system is
minutes or
better.
so each on this. Yeah. Why do you think your idea is better than, and
I
why
mean,
is it
in
should
large part-
Trump the other? And then after that, in about 5 minutes or so, 6 minutes,
Watching a
we're gonna
puppy
go
get hit by a
judge's
train.
question. So you
It
go
kind of
ahead.
is.
Start us off there.
It kind of
In large part,
is
it's just
Darwin.
axiomatic. I mean,
It's
I
like
don't think
Darwin
that's a huge
in
issue for
action.
My philosophy. A lot of them are a result of like more fundamental axioms. I just want to make it very clear for the audience: when Fabian says morally justifiable, he's not making an ought statement. His system cannot tell you ought statements. He's making an is statement. I don't really care if when Fabian says morally unjustifiable, he's making an is statement. What I want my moral system to do is inform me what I ought to do. Fabian's moral system cannot do that. My moral system can.
Okay, yeah, I'll respond.
It is ought time. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And for once, it wasn't me that brought up the is ought problem.
I know. I said I'm
non-fun.
shocked.
Yeah. So again, libertarianism is a theory of natural law, and yes, you're correct that it doesn't give moral ought statements, but that doesn't mean that I don't have any beliefs that are moral oughts. That doesn't mean that I don't have objectivist philosophy and other things, and that is also why I said, right. Right, sure, you get in your jabs, it's fine. At least you're here for something. So again, in my opening statement, I gave several reasons. Number one is that even under the Frankenstein social mixed market economy healthcare system that we have in the United States, it's cheaper. It's absolutely cheaper than it is in other countries. Other countries are going bankrupt trying to pay things. The NHS is a great example of that. Now, that might be potentially because of immigration and things of that nature that they hadn't accounted for. Obviously, like that's going to have a large, impact on cost. But nevertheless, it is cheaper. I gave the reason why, when you look at many of these studies, they claim that it's not cheaper, and why that data is false. And looking at things like bankruptcy, looking at things like the Black Book, you can just test this out in your own life.
Well, wait, no, you don't care about any of that. You don't care about it. You care about a priori synthetic statements, okay? Did we not see how if more people were on one health insurance plan, that would lead to a reduction in cost because the insurer can negotiate prices down from providers? Why should I care about any of this empirical evidence? You don't care about it.
Again, it's an internal critique, and as I said when I went into the internal critique in my opening statement, of which you still haven't given any evidence to support your claims, I said the devil is in the details, so let's give the devil his due. So again, I went into the price metric. Again, I showcase how when we compare deaths combining, dying on a waiting list as well as dying from lack of access to healthcare, that even if we do everything we can to give you the most charitable case, a system like the NHS produces 9 times the amount of people dying, both combining lack of access to healthcare, which of course they don't technically have because everyone is under their system, as well as people that die on waiting lists, and that obviously that this shows an outcome where socialized medicine is way more likely to kill you. One of the things that I didn't get into, which I think is really important to discussing the differences, is between 1992 and 2004, the NCBI did a study on medical innovation, specifically talking about drug research, and they found during that period that 43.7% of all novel drugs made in the world were developed and made in America. And recent surveys, one from the RAND Corporation, shows that we have access to about 74% of all medication, which is higher than almost every other country in the world. And then even more research and data shows that it's somewhere between 50 to 70% of all novel prescriptions and drugs are created in the United States, because that profit motive and because of that system of capitalism where healthcare isn't treated like a human right drives that innovation and drives so many things. So it saves countless millions of lives because of that profit model. And furthermore, now the number could be lower than 70% if you account for one variable, It could be closer to 40%. I'm almost finished, right? Which is that many things start development in Germany, and then American corporations have to purchase them. And the reason is because the regulations and the socialism is so bad in Germany that they can't actually bring drugs to market. So they'll do the research and the development, and then they'll bring them over to America, where we're less regulated, we're less socialist, and we treat healthcare as a human right to a much less degree, and that allows them to bring those drugs to market. But nevertheless, a majority of all novel drugs are in the entire world are made in the United States because of that profit motive.
Make Amish great again, guys. It's on the screen there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things you said, but I think you obviously I need to get just one thing. One thing, Gibbs. Fabian, like, obviously engaged in like some type of contradiction there. He's saying like simultaneously, hey, look at it, you know, if we reduce cost, we're going to lose a lot of medical innovation, which to some extent I agree with. I do think that going on a public option would reduce medical innovation by a small percentage. I didn't bring studies on how much, but he's also saying somehow it's not cheaper. If it's not cheaper, then how would we?
He's a libertarian, so
I made the exact opposite.
But he's right in this case.
You said it's not cheaper. Other countries are going bankrupt because of it.
So
yes, other countries are going bankrupt because of the healthcare costs that are associated with socialism and with treating healthcare as a human right. It's cheaper in America. Health insurance and healthcare costs are lower in America if you actually understand how to break down the data, as opposed to just using Black Book because they equivocate price and cost.
All right, so I got to jump in here. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna ask a question from Fabian's audience to Non-Front here, and then after you answer this, Non-Front, yeah, don't worry. I'm trying to watch all the chats. It's a little hard to keep track of everybody and do the moderating. But we're getting there. So this one, they wanted the Non-Front, so you're gonna answer this Non-Front, and then I'm going to turn it over to Liberal Cluck to start us off if he's ready.
Hey, what's up, BIY? So, good to see you.
Let's go with the question is, Non-Front,
thank you for mentioning the airplane shed, sir. I really appreciate it.
Replacement fertility and must reproduce. Do you seize the means of reproduction? I guess they wrote a series called The Giver on this. I don't know if y'all remember that book series, but it's a good book series. Anyway, go ahead.
Generally, I believe in telling negative rights to a woman, you know, it leads to positive outcomes. I'm sure we could imagine a hypothetical where, you know, taking away those rights from a woman leads to a net benefit. But I don't think under any set of real world.
I got to be honest with you guys.
That outcome. Interestingly, though,
Fabian just destroyed this guy. Scott just
twins.
Came out and just absolutely destroyed Non-Fon. Non-Fon did not know, was not ready.
If we have a set of
obviously didn't
that
watch
were made
enough of Fabian's actual debate videos, and he got pounded down pretty good.
If it's neither of them, then they can't be raped. They have no ownership over that organ.
It's really interesting.
A lot of libertarians hate the idea of shared ownership. They don't think it can even exist.
I'll let Scott answer that, and then Cluck, go ahead.
It's a very interesting one. I might get back to you on it, right? Like, because the concept of the right to bodily autonomy is derived from an individual body, right? So what you were talking about is bodily autonomy for a shared body. I would have to, I mean, like, you know, it is an interesting conundrum. I'd have to look into it in more degree. I don't want to give like a full answer now. I like the question. It's the first thing you've asked that's actually good, but I like it.
Yeah, so like interestingly, like, you know, under my system, it's very easy for me. I can say it's probably a net benefit not to fucking rape a conjoined twin. Under your system, this is somehow a hard question.
No, it's not a hard question to rape the conjoined twin, right? But it does become a conundrum, right? If they share the same liver,
conundrum,
right? Well, it becomes a conundrum if, let's say, they share the same liver, like, and let's say one of them is, you know, comes down with some type of sickness, and the other one would survive so long as there was a surgery that killed the other one, right? So that the one becomes a parasitic to the other one's life or something, right? The right to bodily autonomy doesn't cease simply because, you know, the body has two heads.
Well, do you believe that there could be like shared ownership between these organs? Isn't that a violation of some type of bodily autonomy? Like,
well, again,
quick answer, then I'm going to go to Cluck here.
Yeah, again, like I would say that it would depend upon the circumstances in how libertarian natural law philosophy would handle it, right? In your example of rape, where you thought it was a gotcha, it's obviously not, right? But there might be certain medical situations, right, where one party consents.
Oh,
and
Joseph,
the other
he
party
absolutely
doesn't,
could.
where we have to figure out a first user principle.
The entailment
and, like,
is
who
the
actually the owner of said thing.
that
And like
innovation
and I gave a
is
example, right,
always
just off of the top of my
driven
head,
by
you know,
the
like where one
opportunity
is dying
for
and the other can be
profit.
saved
And once
by
you
it,
remove the
one
opportunity for
becomes
profit,
parasitic.
there's no reason to innovate.
But again, yeah, like it would be interesting to detail in, but again, it doesn't.
I'm
it's
not
it
really
doesn't
sure if that's
stump
what
me on
you're
the
having a
concept of
problem
rape,
with, or
such as yours.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's go ahead. Cluck, questions. You got a couple questions here.
I am so glad rape and Hitler did not come up in our debate.
Oh well, we have high standards here at the Gibbs channel.
Hold on, pause. That's not true at all, Liberal Cluck, because I'm listening to you, and I just know that you think that Trump literally is Hitler. So of course Hitler came up in your debate.
Yeah.
It's a
Anyway.
smart choice coming at the judges. I like the strategy. It's a bold strategy. We'll see how it plays off.
I'm teasing.
Yeah. So I guess my first question is going to be to non-Fan. Fabian, what's going on about how medical, oh goodness gracious, why can't I think of the word? Development
Insurance?
happens more often in America because one of the things was that they're able to make a profit here. Do you believe that your system of medical care necessitates the
again,
banning
Joseph,
of
somebody
profits
made
in the
money
medical
off of
industry?
those for a long time. Patents run out on everything. That's always that way.
Yes.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Your public option, will that strip companies of being able to make profits in your mind?
No, I don't think it'll strip them of being able to make profits. I
mean,
think certainly if you're going to
patents
reduce
run
costs,
out.
you're going to reduce
Innovation
either quality or research
supersedes
and development. Like, I accept that there are trade-offs to these things. I don't think you have to completely
I think actually
and also, like, if
there's
we're going to save money, well, maybe we just take some of the
there's
money
a downside
we
to it
save
as
and
well.
invest it in
We could
R&D.
get into
like,
that.
just have the government give out
Give me
grants,
just
which they
let's
already
just
do
let
for
this
some
wrap
things,
up, and then
to more
we
medical-
could get
to,
into
you know,
that.
more medicine research.
What is
but also,
Can I interject just one quick real quick? You say you said certainly. You said certainly if you reduce costs, you're going to either reduce quality or something else. That's patently not true within economics, right? One of the best ways to increase profit is to reduce cost, right? That's how you increase your rate of profit.
Joseph, he's not talking about
reducing
innovation
costs and
necessarily
reducing costs
in the
that
drug
people pay,
industry.
which is because you reduce the price that people can.
He's
that
talking
the
about
producers
innovation
can
in
receive for that
surgeries
good.
and
That's what I
technique
Yeah, I mean, if
and
you
all
mean
of these
overall
things, which
cost
we
to the entire
do not
world, like
see
US,
in
sure.
countries with socialized
In
medicine,
your mind, where
where
does the,
there's no
reduction in cost come from?
benefit for a doctor
It comes
to
from
do
the
so.
ability of the public
Right,
option
and
or
they,
single
they
payer to
you know,
more
if
effectively
you listen to his
negotiate
opening
with
statement,
all the
where he
providers.
talks about how many
I also
people
will add, I
died
do, you know,
in
like I was talking to
England,
Econoboy
for
yesterday.
example,
Econoboy's a big
which
single-payer
has
guy.
a much
I'm not
smaller
as big a
population.
single-payer
They had
because I
more
believe,
people
you know, we should allow people to buy
passed
private
because they
insurance
couldn't
that
get
covers,
access
you know,
to
medication
medical
that is
care
new and expensive, and that the
when
public
they really
option
needed
doesn't
it.
necessarily wanna
Like
cover, it's
life-saving
expensive.
medical care, they
So
could
there is
not.
still some incentive for
There was
innovation
not
there
enough
from private
doctors to go
insurers.
around. There was not
Question
enough
non-Fan,
technology to
following
help
up on
them
that. So you believe
because
that
of the
a public
socialized
option would be
healthcare.
better at,
This is a
negotiating
problem
prices
that
than
all
insurance
of these
companies.
socialized
But what
countries
evidence do you have
face
of this, considering
in
that
every
Medicare
single aspect.
is,
And socialism
uniquely
never works.
bad
It never
at
has. It never
negotiating
will.
drug costs, especially when compared
And
to insurance companies.
it's
On
doomed
the
to
private
failure
market
from
that
the
is
word
already
go.
heavily,
And I don't care how many people say
is
it's just
better
never been
at
done
negotiating
right.
those costs.
It
So
doesn't
why do you
matter
think
because you
more
can't do it
things
right.
like Medicare that negotiate drug prices.
But we'll get
and
into
healthcare
that
costs would be
shortly.
better
Just
at it than
they're about
insurance
to wrap
companies,
up, and then we'll get
based
into
off
my
the
regularly
profit model. Where are
scheduled
you
show,
getting
and
that-
we'll
where are you
have a
getting
great
that
time.
basis
Well,
assumption from?
Medicare was unable to negotiate costs for a while until my man Biden made them able to do it.
Joe Biden?
So I'd have to know when that data was from. But also, like, I mean,
that's not
I
true
know
at
this.
all. Like,
I know this a priori
that's a
synthetically.
lie.
If you increase the amount of people in an insurance company, they're going to have
It's
more
all good,
negotiating
Joseph.
leverage.
That is a lie. Bill Clinton was famous for negotiating costs. There have been several presidents and several administrations that, on behalf of Medicare, have put in bills and different things. Now, yes, you are correct that Medicare as a whole negotiating those prices.
Can I ask
is
Fabian
something
Do you think it's
that-
interesting when the moderator's putting his hand up?
This is your last one at Liberal Clock, and then we're gonna go to the Lactoid. Go ahead.
Oh gosh. All right. Fabian, do you
Fabian.
believe that rights are absolute?
Yeah, I think they have to be absolute, or otherwise they're not a right. I think if you say something is a right and then you say that you can violate said right, then it's not a right definitionally. It's something else, right? It's some form of as Nanfan like so-called, some form of entitlement, but you're obviously not entitled to it if there are times in which you're not entitled to it, right? Even the human rights, human rights declaration says that it has to be something that can never be violated.
You agree the rights cannot give you ought statements, right? You agree that your rights don't give you ought statements.
That's awesome, Chip and Flint.
Well,
That's a great story.
I would say that rights give you an argumentation about what is no longer logically justifiable in terms of saying your system is ethical if it violates said rights, right? So might makes reality, but it doesn't make right. And so, if I have the guns, I can go and violate rights as much as I want. But yeah, I would say that rights don't give you ought statements. You can kind of add an ought not statement from that. But again, libertarian, theory and natural law philosophy doesn't engage in what you ought to do. That's a separate concern.
Yeah, I mean, so long as your system doesn't give you ought statements, I prefer my system, which is actually capable of telling me what I ought do and ought not do.
Dude, shut the fuck up. You don't understand libertarianism if you keep saying this, even though I'm explaining it to you, right? Libertarianism doesn't say what's the best apple to eat, but that doesn't mean that you can't, that your moral system is superior if your moral system claims that Red Delicious are better than Granny Smith. It's not making those claims. That's not my full fucking philosophy.
So let's go to Lactoid here. Let's get a couple questions there, and then we'll let them both go.
Thank you. I have a series of questions for each of the debaters, and I will not accept either debater jumping into the answer of the other debater.
All right.
So
that's what the judge is saying. This is one more. Hey, by perfect segue, real quick. This is the perfect reason why Gibbs is the best here, because the judges get to decide what's best for them. So if you cross the judges, that's on you. All right, go ahead.
We're almost done, guys, and we're going to dive into this.
To Scott, I have this written down. How is this not a semantics debate? Couldn't Nanfan simply define a right as whatever his ideal society categorizes as a service that maximizes overall utility to some degree? If he can't do this, where is the intrinsic and objective source that a right comes from? Is there any level of utility that can override an intrinsic right?
Yeah, so you're correct in that it is a semantics debate, right, about what the word right means, because the prompt is healthcare a human right? And so it's important to know what the definition of a right is in order for us to be able to make the claim positively or negatively that healthcare is or isn't a human right. If the question
a lot of times they were talking past each other.
Should we as a society have universal healthcare, right?
Hey, Silver Ogar's over in Scott's chat.
That's the prompt. He can claim a new definition of right and say that that rights can be violated, under different circumstances, et cetera, from his framework, and that's fine for him to say. I think he's wrong, and he would obviously think he's right if he was making said argument. But again, that's kind of the point of the debate is that it does center around that word and what that word means, and I think that word holds a lot of power to the American people, right? I think it's important when people talk about their rights or their constitutional rights or the Enlightenment philosophy that you don't hijack those words to mean government power can be used so long as it accepts our fees, but you actually mean it for what it's meant to mean.
Medical license are unethical.
To argue for political change in the world, and I think I do think it's an important one as well.
All right, Nanfan. If a service maximizes overall utility, is this the absolute definer of your definition of right? If so, if slavery in the southern United States generated sufficient profits, would owning slaves then become a right? If not, and you have some sort of threshold, what factors play into drawing your line, and why doesn't this apply to healthcare?
I mean, yeah, it's always going to be about utility. If we just presuppose that slavery maximized utility, then I would support slavery. Now it happens to be the case that I believe granting people negative rights, the ability, like self-ownership, grants sufficient utility in the long run to justify entailing them to people. But if we just presuppose that it didn't, then yeah, I'll support slavery. I'll bite the bullet, whatever.
He grants them these rights and then doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
That's not a series of questions. It's just two.
Well, no, but it was a series of
more
questions for each of you. I mean,
fair enough.
Can I dig into?
Yeah, you got about a minute and a half. I'll give you.
Let me dig into a little bit more, because non-fun answered it very directly, actually, a little bit surprisingly directly, I think. But Scott, where is the sort of intrinsic and objective, like, because you said in your answer, like, we can't like get away from defining a right from what a right is. Like, what is the objective source of the definition of right? Where does this come from?
Okay, so I mean, like, again, it's the objective source for the definition of a word is never going to be a thing, right? I mean, language changes. People use words because they have utility in conveying concepts and ideas, right? Now, when the concept or idea changes and the word stays the same, I think, it can be, for lack of a better term.
So Gibbs wants me to be a part of these
right? So
debates.
I would say that,
and I'm seriously considering it.
Is defining rights a certain way.
We're
the founding fathers
probably be next week, I think, as he wants me to debate next week.
And
a
right is
it looks like a good time to me. I like it.
Political philosophy that set up our current government that we live under, right? That's how right is used. And so if you start using that word differently, then both the philosophy and the doctrine and the opinions of the people that set up our current government, I think that becomes really problematic. I mean, you as a lawyer would recognize that, like, if you just start changing a word and now you can reinterpret a word out of its historical context within law, that can be a real problem for establishing common law and things of that nature. And that, it is important to recognize what that word meant originally, even if we start to use it differently today. And so I do fight to gatekeep those words, at least from an Enlightenment perspective. Rights probably meant different things, and certainly did under, let's say, monarchies, right? I mean, rights were,
it is live.
Had a,
it is live. I've been doing a running commentary on it. Like I said, Gibbs, the guy who runs this, wants me to partake. I thought we were going to do it on Friday night, but we'll see. And if
definition to
we'll be, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'll do the debate.
Non-fun
if he asks me
we'll
to.
move to closings here.
As a debater, smoking spaceman, and a judge. The way it works is that you have four people to debate, two judge, then the two that judge debate, and the two that just finished debating judge.
And the follow-up to that is a very long conversation,
which we don't have time for right this second.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on you want to say there? Is that all you wanted to say?
Nope,
okay.
I'm good. We can go to.
All right, fantastic. Let's move to closings. Let's get y'all. I'll give y'all three. I think we gave y'all three for each in the first one, so we'll do three for each. Now, give me 1 second. Who started this? I think Fabian did. So, non-Ron, you're going to start us off here on the closing. Give me 1 split second. And all right, you can start when you want. I'll give you a 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean,
this will be 30 seconds. All right, go ahead.
I think obviously Fabian makes a number of mistakes when he says morally justifiable. He's not talking about any oughts. He's making a descriptive statement that can't inform what we ought do. I don't see rights as meaningful if they don't inform what we ought do. Under my system, the moral framework does actually inform what we ought do, and we ought entail some rights to people like equitable access to healthcare because it maximizes positive outcomes. We didn't talk about it too much, but there's a number of reasons the healthcare market fails. For example, adverse selection. This is when people who need health insurance most buy health insurance, and they it created a death spiral because companies have too risky patients and they have to raise premiums. So
non-fun needs to get in the gym, work out a little bit.
Until the healthcare company the government can solve that by intervening and mandating that everyone buy health insurance, or by enrolling everyone into a public option. So there's that, and I guess again, every time he says the government's forcing or initiating force. He's reading into the initiating force his theory of libertarian entitlement. He's saying that people are entitled to the things that they produce, and therefore, if the government tries to take that from you, that is an initiation of force. Under my view, we are entitled to things to rights that maximize positive outcomes. So, in my view, it's not an initiation of force to take someone's money. It's defensive force because other people are, to some degree, entitled to the money to maximize welfare.
He just said somebody else is entitled to your money, guys.
Cannot make ought statements and thinks it's a hard question about whether or not a person's rights are being violated when you rape a conjoined twin. I'm done.
Thank you so much.
He did lose this one,
Very
guys.
short to the point on many of these answers.
I actually thought he was going to put up a better fight.
Fabian, you got 3 minutes.
Yeah, before I start, I'd just like to clarify, right, that just because I'm a libertarian doesn't mean that that is the entire corpus of my philosophy. Nanvan is simply lying in his closing statement. He's lying about the fact that, I thought that there was some questions about raping a conjoined twin. I never made that statement. I only said that there was, there would be issues in terms of like liver and who gets to keep the liver, under circumstances where one person may have to die because of specific diseases. And again, I think it's weird to bring up that, morally questionable situations because he was unable to really articulate, what it was that Hitler did wrong when he killed 6 million Jews.
Got to be honest, Nanvan did not come out very good on this one.
Obviously the rights that he gave didn't maximize utility. And the biggest problem with that is that the recognition that there is an action that the state could have taken that would have maximized utility is an understanding.
Again,
that there
Daniel,
is an
we are
objective
watching a
truth,
live debate
right?
where you
know,
come
as
in at
logic,
the end
A
of it.
equals A,
This
statements must be
debate
true or false. So when you
was on
recognize that the
is
state
healthcare a
can
right?
get
This is a
wrong
closing
what
argument.
Rights do and don't or shouldn't exist, or which ones maximize utility, even under his own framework, if we agree that he is a logical person and that he believes in formal logic, that A equals A and that, statements must either be true or false, then he recognizes that there is an objective system, an objective rule set that will indeed maximize utility. And so, value is subjective. It can be difficult to determine what those things are, but it is true and it is out there, which leads us to believe via convergence theory that those rights do exist. Now, a right that is conditional is a contradiction in and of itself. To say that something is an inalienable right, that cannot be, right? Like even when we look at the UN Declaration of Rights, and by the way, the UN Declaration of Rights is contradictory in and of itself because they do think of things like access to healthcare, access to education, and things like that as rights. But even they admit that the right is inalienable.
Unfortunately, Daniel, there is almost no DEI on this panel.
The things that they contradict later.
I'm sorry,
so,
you'll have to go elsewhere for DEI. But if you want some cool stuff, and we're going to talk some shit a little later. We're going to get Tiki Tack back up here. We're going to go over this debate and pick apart some of the arguments. It's going to be a great time.
From the internal critique perspective,
stay here.
Very quickly, I gave a ton
of things. If you want DEI, though, you got to go somewhere else.
He brought basically no data to bear. He had no evidence to support his consequentialism, which is weird because consequentialists usually focus on empiricism, but he brought no empirical data. I did, and I showcased many ways why, socialized healthcare is a problem. The only thing that he is claiming is that apparently the ACA lowered healthcare costs. This is news to me. This is news to literally everyone in fucking America, that somehow mandating individuals get healthcare lowered healthcare costs, because we live in that America now, and it did nothing but increase the cost of healthcare. So yeah, I just don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I wish he brought some evidence to bear for his argumentation, but it looks like he just fell flat of having any support for his arguments. It's unfortunate.
And it was really great.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. All right, judges.
Yeah, Daniel, he does that on purpose.
Who y'all thought in PMs. And also, chat, voting is up now, so go vote. I'm going to use a quick question break. I'm going to mute this while y'all talk amongst yourselves real quick. And let me know what y'all thought. Y'all can talk about it.
Should we all separate, me and Lactoid go talk about those two in another room or something?
No, you just DM me who won. Y'all can just talk about whatever y'all want, except don't say who won here until I announce it. Come on.
What are we grading these people on?
All right, so that's really okay. Well, this is perfect time to explain judging category here. The judging criteria, and this is the big part. This is why I had it this way. I don't know if y'all noticed this, but one, you challenged Lactoid, I believe, and then I tried to find an issue that two other people would disagree on and pair them that way. So for the other one, also Fabian, thanks for stepping in last minute. That was good because we had to fill in for. Pentuple. So, thanks for being cool with it, non-run. I feel like that might happen sometimes, guys. This is Twitch. Some people are like, shit happens, right? Like
don't worry, Pentuple will never debate me again.
We'll see. He said he'll be back on the 10th, and so we'll talk about all these things. Secondly, we're going forward. As the judge, this is how you grade it. How the fuck do you want? That's the secret right here. Like, so like this time, I figured, all right, I don't want to be accused of having a bias.
Chip and Flint, that's cool, man.
Left-leaning judge, a right-leaning judge, you know, and then I'll have a left-leaning and a right-leaning candidate. And every other debate, I actually don't know that I'm gonna be able to have that option because there's only two pretty far righties, and now we have one 90s Democrat who's now basically a right winger.
I don't think the green screen works on
basically in the tournament. The rest are all
Discord or wherever they're on right now. It always happens.
We can't promise we're going to have a staunch side, whatever. So I might have to pick issues unless people have been called out for specific things in the opening round. That's how that works. So as the judges, this is the key. Y'all vote how y'all want. That's how you decide. And if y'all want to talk about criteria, y'all want to talk about, sure, whatever. Just don't say who you voted for, and I'll be right back and give you like 2 minutes to chat. Vote now.
Look,
Yeah, go ahead and vote.
Right-leaning people need to get your people on it. Tell them to stop being chicken shit and start debating.
Real.
Well, I would
Bro,
say
I debate
especially with
every
Twitch.
fucking panel. I swear to God.
Lactoid, you're
Lactoid, you're
great.
good,
Lactoid,
Lactoid,
you're
don't worry.
fantastic. I'm saying you need to get your people. Bring your people.
Well, I mean,
My
like our
people-
people have been pushed off of places like Twitch and many of them off of YouTube.
I'm on Kick. I
I'm
don't
on
even.
Kick.
Nobody
I-
wants
I
to be
won't-
on
I-
Kick.
I won't.
Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse.
I try to come to
support
you.
Kick. I refuse to support Kick. I don't want to support a site that's based off of, you know, gambling bullshit and, you know.
Yeah, but you
degeneracy.
support my individual right to support the gambling.
Yeah,
bullshit, right?
exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Nice. I love libertarianism.
You know he's on Kick. I mean, that's where Destiny
I
lives.
just wouldn't let you in my community. You know what I mean? Like,
Me specifically.
I mean, I don't know. You seem fine, but like, you know, if you want to be a degenerate gambler and opening a gambling casino or something, I'm gonna be like,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
guys, fuck that.
That's awesome, Chip and Flint.
Fun.
Y'all are real talking
You guys are
about
being boring, right? Like,
Yeah, I
was
don't
trying.
Jesus Christ. I couldn't even
All right, let's see who
I couldn't
wins so
even
we
take
can
a
duck
2-second
out of here and talk shit.
Pissed, your guy.
Ticky Tack, you ready to come up, buddy?
And then let y'all listen to that. It would have been more soothing. It would have been some like piss ASMR. That's what Papa Gibbs brings you. Real good stuff. Also, looks like I just got rated, but thank you for everyone just tuning in. All right, we're gonna decide. All right, looks like.
You got a raid during a vote? Oh God.
Yeah, woo! We're doing real good. You know, I don't even know who it's from, but all right, little Clark, did you send me yours?
Do you just want the name or you want the reasoning behind it?
You can do both, but
All right, I'll go ahead
whatever
and
you
send
want,
the
whatever
name.
you want. Perfect.
Oh, I think
come
I
on.
sent it in the wrong chat.
Well, it's all right.
What an idiot.
That'll be all right.
It's our DMs.
All right, let's look at the chat votes here. All right, well, that's
There's no way non-font
I
won
get
this.
chat about 2 minutes. All right, we gotta wait. I didn't realize how long this was when I put it, so we're just gonna give it another 2-3 minutes here. All right, so what did y'all think? Did y'all enjoy this first format?
What's
Now,
up,
like I said,
Intel
this
Wild?
First round
Good
is
to see
going
you.
to be this way, where the judges are the opposing team. I picked opposite judges from opposite sides of the brackets. I tried to make this fair, and I did that with the other bracket as well. Next round, that's not going to be the case. Your opponents will not be the judges next round for the win. So
I think-
factor that in.
Here's
ahead.
what I think. I like the concept. I do think though that the judging shouldn't be secret and that you should be forced to say who you voted for and why.
Oh, I'm going to announce who fucking said it at the end.
Right. But, okay. Fair enough. But I think you should give explanation beyond.
Oh, good.
You know, just like, oh, I thought he was right. Okay. Well, then fair enough. Then
Well, yeah. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be like, all right, so and so voted this way. Tell us why. You know, kind of like a MMA round card. You know, like except you know.
Yeah. No, it'll be fine.
Yeah, just
It'll be
DM'd
fine.
all that shit to you.
Well, yeah, that's
no.
why I was like, yeah, if you want it, well, now I have it writing. So if you lie,
Yeah.
I sent you. Yeah, I sent you.
yeah,
my reasoning.
Y'all were,
I've got
y'all
no
were
problem
ahead of the curve.
saying it.
Yeah.
I got no
No.
problem.
Yeah, like I said, that's going to be this first round of the Grand Prix this time. Next round, I already have a gimmick for the next one. And like I said, the strategy, this is kind of what I was
That's how
laughing.
you know I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm gonna be honest. I
Use that pen and paper like an old person.
Yeah, I just type faster, so I do that. But like, I was gonna say, this is why I was laughing when Fabian you went after Little Cluck a little bit there, because like I've said, play to the judges. Like next round, if I have like say hypothetically like a roast show guy, you know, that guy's not gonna care about like the facts so much. Or if I have like a normie e-girl or something, she won't care. But I'm also gonna have like I'm gonna offset the judges somehow, so it's gonna be some kind of you play to what you think kind of thing. I'm gonna always have.
Should have me as judge.
That's kind of with that. I mean, I also think next round most of the judges.
So let me know ahead of time if there's going to be an e-girl or something, so that I can
just assume there might always be an e-girl.
something other than a black T-shirt.
Just
you know
listen.
What I mean?
Just, I'm going to tell you right now. Just
try to make myself look a little more presentable.
Always assume that. You never know when I might be like, surprise! I got a fucking bullshit for you. And I mean, that's usually how I work in life. It's really amazing. What else? What do y'all think so of that? What else y'all got for me here? Feedback while we wait for this to finish. We got 1 minute here.
I enjoyed it. I like when people reach out for me to be on things because it's hard to set it up myself.
Oh,
you should reach out to Wick. He's put me on a few panels. That's where I met Gibbs.
Wick said he was going to set up a dating show for me. He hasn't done that yet, but.
Listen, if he won't do it, I don't want to take his idea. But I'm the king of loving dating. Well, not the king, but I do like doing dating shows and hosting them. And
hey, it's Ricky. What's up, buddy?
So you see if he wants to do it. If not, I'll do it for funsies. That'll be good shit.
Someone in my chat asked,
but it'll be more of like a comedy thing.
Is Gibbs admitting that conservatives are socialists because he brought libertarians in versus the commies?
Well, see, here's the deal.
It's not me. I didn't say it. You know.
Y'all already have y'all actually have a comedy on your team. We have a tanky sitting right next to you over there. It's Lactoid. So
What happened? What is this story referencing?
Yeah, no. This is referencing the fact that I said, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't sell guns to terrorists," and now I'm a tanky, apparently.
No, you also told me you used to be a tanky. So
what are you talking about? Well,
it's your core beliefs deep down.
That's literally the core belief of tankies: is that you should give guns to terrorists. That is the most anti-tanky thing ever. Right? It's like shall not be infringed.
That's not why
right?
I said that.
Shall not be infringed is the Second Amendment. What do the commies say? What do the tankies say? Under no pretext. The entire Marx was very clear that you need to arm the bourgeoisie for the revolution. So if you believe that you shouldn't give guns to terrorists, whilst depending on the context, I may disagree or agree with you, depending on what you mean by that. That is the most anti-communist take you can have on guns, is to arm everyone but the terrorists. Is the exact opposite opinion of Marx. So I don't buy that makes him a tanky at all. I think that's actually just the exact opposite.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's see here. Looks like the polls, but I mean, it's perfect time to end it. I'm not even going to give Lactoid a chance to defend himself because Lactoid is a tanky. That's not the opinion why I said that. He's just over here. See, Scott accuses me. I don't know. I don't think Scott's accused me of being a socialist in a while, but I accuse Lactoid of being a socialist sometimes. Because he is a tanky, really deep down. What you believe.
Come on, man. Let's just announce the winner so I can get on with this.
I have always been this ultra-capitalist evil bastard since I was born. Lactoid, he used to be pro-tankyism, and that's what you always are deep down. You eventually revert back to factory settings. You can't escape it. No, moving on.
What can I say? I used to get in trouble for in high school. I was I was supporting Che Guevara. But hey, I did.
Is that while you were winning awards for DARE?
No. Well, yes. Well, DARE was beforehand. But hey, I'll say this. I'll say this though. I did the one thing.
Come on.
That most communists never do. I grew up.
Hey. Oh, there you go.
True.
Hey, Chris Strange, what's up, buddy? This is live. We're waiting for it to end.
I haven't grown up as much.
It's killing me, man. They just need to announce the winner.
I was reading Lenin in high school, but we've moved past it.
You grew up too.
I've never been a socialist. I'm the only one here. Wait, no, Fabian probably hasn't either, right?
Hold on, I've definitely never been a socialist.
I was a full-blown Marxist when I was younger.
Oh, so me and Gibbs were the only ones that's never been socialists.
So I knew it. I was the only true. I'm not even a libertarian. The true conservative here, the whole life. I'm the only one who's been consistent my entire life. In fact, my undergrad,
say who won so I can tear this apart. Let's go.
This is almost as much close to libertarian as you'll get. But I'm not though.
Let's go. Because
she probably didn't know much.
She's actually the head of. She is now the
Lestrange,
head
you
of
missed
the,
it. It was a
the
good debate.
department- what is
You
it?
missed
I
out.
think it's
Sorry,
Texas A&M
buddy.
Pan Am political science department. So moving up. So she's awesome. Check her out. She's got a radio show.
All right, come on, Gibbs.
But anyway, on that note, chat. Let me just write this down. All right, we'll start off with the first round of debaters since we went first. I'm gonna just pick one because fuck it. Fabian, give us who won and why.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a surprise that I voted for Lactoid. I did everything I could to kind of like be fair here, but Liberal Cluck, it's a bit unfair for you going up against a lawyer, right? I think if you're going to go up against a lawyer in the future, you have to prepare more in terms of like being able to understand like the full aspects.
Lestrange, it was great. It's been a great debate. We're going to talk about it, so we're going to talk shit about it. So just give me a minute.
One thing, but like you got to watch like a lawyer review something, have them go into depth and detail about it, for sure. And then also you stumbled in the very beginning with the opening statement, right? Like you didn't really have one, and then kind of like Lactoid had to go. Now I would say I do think Lactoid had a few issues. I think he capitalized a little bit too much. Without enough like punches, right? So you said a lot kind of because, and again, it's because it's a legal debate. You said a lot, but it was like kind of going in circles. I think you could have had a little bit more blood sports in there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less repetition of those things.
More blood sport. Yes.
Like, dude, I fucking said this already.
More
I'm not
blood.
repeating it. You're wrong.
More
And then
blood
just
for the
moved on to,
sport.
like the next argument.
Oh, hit my mic. Sorry. Whoops.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. I think you did a really good job, Liberal Cluck, when you were kind of like thrown off by an audience question. You had kind of said, but where is it? Oh, maybe I didn't write it down. Regardless, you were given an audience question. You were like, kind of like, oh, I don't know how to answer this. And then you figured out your
Fabian, by the way, can talk
and it's
for like
obvious
2
that,
hours.
like, you weren't prepared for it, but nevertheless, like you recovered and gave like your side's decent argument from it. And like I respect that because it shows that you have talent for debating if you prepare more and you get more practice for sure. And then I think your bias argument also, Lactoid, is a weak argument. I don't think it matters. Like unless you're going to harp on it more. You kept bringing up the bias, but you didn't attach that to an argument. But nevertheless, I think with the opening statements, with the facts of the case, with the legal theory, et cetera, I think Lactoid won. But there's room for improvement on both sides. And I appreciate it. It was a good debate.
Whoa. You wrapped up.
Not broad. Who won the first one and why?
I should have written down my reasoning. I forget by now. But I voted for Lactoid. I think as someone who does not have a good understanding of the New York case, I felt like Lactoid was able to explain it to me pretty well. And I feel like he did
it's
overall,
Lactoid.
like better job explaining his position and like why the things he's saying.
He's a lawyer.
Are true.
What can you say?
Better knowledge of the case. I would have liked to see Liberal Cluck push back a little more on I guess on the bias thing, because I do think that's probably one of the weaker things Lactoid said. And
yes, that is a
B,
dude.
just on some of the, I mean, I think you would have had better knowledge to do this, or maybe you did, and nervous or whatever. But to push back on Lactoid's explanation of why the legal theories are not necessarily good.
All right. Oh, perfect. All right. Okay, so on the first one,
that was a blowout.
Chad had decided as well that the Lactoid was winner. So we got 3-1, 3-0. I mean 3-0. I can't do math on that one with the Lactoid win. All right, let's turn it over to the other side. Good try, Cluck. That was good. That was very brave of you to challenge a lawyer to a
Yeah,
debate
I want
case.
to point out I challenged a
For
lawyer
sure, yes.
on Trump's the most inconsequential, the one that everyone said was the weakest case. So yeah, congratulations, Lactoid.
Also, I want to before we
fair.
move over to the next point, before we move over to the next thing, I'm going to show on my stream here just to explain something here, because people have been asking how some of these matchups were decided, and I'm going to explain that. So some people called people out, like Cluck called Lactoid out, right? And
Yeah,
so
Cluck was
usually,
not
as you
smart
know
on
how,
this one.
maybe I should have been more explanatory of this. but I'm basing this on how we do fantasy MMA in forum format, right? And so this is going to be a Grand Prix, right? And usually Grand Prix have seeding. So I took the people that had already called each other out, and I seeded them based on how I thought that was going to be. Unfortunately for Liberal Cluck, I mean, I'm not as familiar with Liberal Cluck. I've debated him a few times. I thought it was very brave of him to call a lawyer, but this is going to be my 1v8 matchup. And if you know how tournaments are, you usually do 1v8, 2v7, et cetera, 3v6. So on this, so now to be fair, some of these, the seedings kind of just doesn't really matter. Fabian came in kind of late. Originally, we were going to have a debate. Non-Fun was debating a different lawyer, so I kind of seeded it that way. So the seeding's wrong a little bit different there. I don't know if where I would have put him originally. Now that being said, going on there, like I said, some of these debates have been called out. Others, I'm going to decide the topics. Some of them don't know what the topic's going to be, and others do. So, I guess that sucks for the ones that don't know, but I'll tell them probably tomorrow or the next day, and they'll have about a week to prepare. Going on, does that make sense? And I also pick people from different brackets to be on this first one, if that makes sense. So if that's the answer to all those questions, I try to do it off seeding. It's arbitrary. We had fill-ins and we had whatever. So yeah, if it doesn't seem balanced or whatever,
nobody cares, Gibbs.
In regards to that, people were saying, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah,
no, it's not like verbal combat at all.
Out a lawyer in his own argument, big fan there. Good showing. And then when we do the seasonal format, you're obviously going to be welcome back. I'll explain how that works when we get there.
It would actually, verbal combat would maybe be a little better if it was more like this.
Start with Cluck. Why don't you go ahead since it lead us off with the who won and why?
I think Non-Fun did. Fabian, it was mostly things that. Okay, so
because he's a lefty,
I think that the reek analogy was really, really bad analogy. I understood what you were trying to get at. It was just it didn't work because in your analogy, the person actually isn't happy.
Always let the stupidest person in the room go first.
Being raped is happy in order to, and that's just not how those things work. So I thought that was a poor analogy. You're also kind of condescending towards your opponent, which I typically don't like. And my
did he just say that? No way.
Insufferable. So I got to keep this chatter around as much as I can. If Non-Fun, I think the weakest part of your argument is when you're trying to convince people that they're not entitled to the product of their work. I think that you need to phrase that in a different way. I understand what you're trying to get at, but it's not going to be convincing to anybody. You got to phrase it in a different way.
I'm not really sure what Bricky was trying to say.
It's not that you're not entitled to the product of your work, but you do have to pay into society or something through taxes or some shit like that. I don't know, but I think that was probably the weakest part of your argument. So that's what I decided.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to say, Fabian, I like it when you demean me. Okay.
Yeah, you were mean a bunch of times too, and I enjoy it. I like a little fire.
Good. All right, Lactoid, go ahead, football.
Yeah, so I voted for Scott. I think Scott elaborated more on the topic. He was more knowledgeable and generally went into depth into arguing for his philosophy, and also brought in some empirics. Early on, he did a little bit of a clever move by refusing to go into his libertarian philosophy when he mentioned the word intrinsic. I think that this should have been immediately attacked. This was the topic of the debate that was sort of rounding on, but he was essentially able to not go into that.
We'll make it make sense here in a little bit.
Kind of gets in deep into my libertarian philosophy that we don't have to go into. But when Scott says, we don't have to go into this, that should be a
Joseph, he lost right there.
And so Non-Fun, you didn't capitalize on that, which I think did take away some points. I mean, Non-Fun, Scott is very aggressive and is pretty well known to be a very verbose debater. And so you need to be able to wrestle control a bit more often, which I don't think that you're able to do too well in this debate. Your lack of assertiveness kind of allowed Scott to get out so much more, which gives him points because he's able to have the time to go into all of his different points. I do think, Scott, that you did cross the line of assertiveness a few times, and you insulted him and made one particular shocking hypothetical that kind of felt jarring and came across pretty poorly. And I don't think Non-Fun did either to really any kind of memorable degree. So that actually, I think, gives Non-Fun some points. in that regard.
No,
I think that's
no,
something that
no.
helps.
This
to
is
avoid,
blood sport debate,
if you
bro.
Want the audience to
the
be on your side a
gloves
little bit
come
more.
off in the
But
blood
overall,
sport
just,
debate,
the
bro.
overall theme of the debate,
There's
I think,
no
was,
gloves.
You
bare
Scott, you were just in
knuckles.
control of the debate the whole time, right? You were maintaining
Patrick,
control,
we
and yet if you
were
pushed the control a little bit too far a few times. Yes,
I was doing
but
live
even when you reined it back, you were
commentary
still
on
in
this
control.
debate.
And I felt
I'm familiar
you
with
really didn't
several
lose
of the
control at all
actors in
during the whole
here,
debate.
and
So,
matter of fact, all but one
that's
of
why
them.
you
And
got the win.
I'm gonna
So we have
disagree with my
on that
man
one.
Lactoid
So yeah,
there. This is a blood sport debate,
non-fun.
and it needs to be
Lactoid says
blood
Fabian.
sport.
So I know there's some controversy on the chat saying I had like thousands of votes. Mine ended and it said 27-8. So I'm gonna go with it. Says Fabian. So we're gonna go with that. I think it was.
Oh, Bricky, you're totally cool, man.
One said,
totally cool.
Maybe
No
people were just
worries.
voting a bunch and it just only
You need to
showed me
defend
people's
yourself.
actual votes. I don't know. But that's what we got here. So yeah, it looks like 2-1. That was close. Last minute step in. I don't know that. I know that. I hope
missed
that
out here.
that doesn't hurt your feelings here. Non-fun, but you did really good. I do think that it was a little hard
It's
to
all
go
good,
from one person
Bricky.
to prepare for somebody totally different.
All good,
So I don't
Bricky.
know if that gave you an advantage or disadvantage. But I know you're ready for the one with Pentuple. Any closing thoughts there, Nalfa? What do you think?
Listen, my mom told me to be nicer in debates, and it backfired on me. Okay, she watched my other debates. She said, "Stop."
He listened to his mom.
I see. They both gave you points. I like and like a chat. I guess so. Okay. I think that honestly, you made the best point of the y'all's debate was that my thing can answer this, his thing can't. I think even if other like beforehand or whatever. But I'm the only moderator, so I don't get a fucking vote. So whatever. But like I thought that was a good argument. However, but I personally like the fire. So like if you get a judge in here that does like the fire, whatever. But it just happens these two guys are a bunch of baby back bitches. No, I'm just kidding. They don't like the they like the
baby back bitches.
I think Fabian has really good presentation when he's talking. Like, even if you like, I'm not a philosophy nerd, but I feel like he knows what he's talking about when he's talking. So like, I think that's one thing I can say positive about him. Also, Joe Mann, my one chatter, says that he really likes this debate roundup. So props, Gibbs.
I like the format.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate it. Glad y'all enjoy it. Good, yeah. So it looks like y'all will be advancing. I will set the next date. I don't know if it's gonna be next Friday or if we're gonna do New Year's Eve, but that's gonna be my plans, guys. Thank y'all for going. I will let y'all know. It'll probably be 2 weeks-ish before y'all go again. We'll see. I'll
So
work with
who
people's
did, I
schedules,
may have missed it. Did Non-Fon win or did
Sorry, but like I have my kids every other weekend. I don't do shit online.
No, that's fine. That's fine, and we can work around schedules. Like I said, I
don't want to rewind it. Did he say that
we'll figure this out.
Non-Fon won or Scott won?
Especially
Scott
after the first round,
clearly won
because we're gonna have only one of these per round. But for the round opening, we're gonna do two a night here. But yeah, thanks for coming and thanks for staying for the full 2 hours. I know it's not as fun judging as it is doing it, but yeah.
Dicky Tack, come on up, buddy.
Any other thoughts? Shout yourselves out. Let's start with Fabian. Tell everybody where you're at. Fabian's the one I haven't shouted out chat, but I got his YouTube link here. We'll post it, hit it. Everybody else y'all have gotten him. So go ahead, Fabian. Why don't you tell us where you are, where you're at.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be back on X tomorrow, because apparently you're not allowed to say on X that if someone says, quote, this discussion shouldn't be based on philosophy, end quote, that they should neuter themselves and save the human race. Apparently that's frowned upon on the new Twitter. I got a 7-day ban, but you can follow me, Fabian Liberty, on YouTube or X. I'm on other platforms, but I'm not really on.
All right, that's enough. That's enough of this.
Yeah, I just kind of see this as like a training session for Non-Fon more than anything.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. Let me get this. There we go. All right. Wow. Did they say that Non-Fon won?
I don't think so.
Okay, good, because it was clear that Scott cleaned his clock. Absolutely just beat him to death.
I'm not sure if they announced a winner, and wasn't he suggesting that there was going to be another debate in like 2 weeks?
You two, you guys move on.
Oh,
So
okay.
somebody had to have won, but well, I'll ask Scott later. But Scott should have won. If he didn't win, he was robbed. I tell you, he was robbed. And I got to be honest with you guys. I like the format. I'm supposed to take part in this. I've been invited to debate in this arena, if you will.
That's cool.
And so I'm probably going to do it. You know, it seems legit. I kind of like it overall, right? Like it seems like it's one of those things that is just cool enough to be like not annoying at all. Like it should be really cool. And I'm pretty, kind of, to be honest, I'm kind of stoked. It seems like it'll be something that's worth being a part of. So
yeah, totally agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so to speak a bit on like Non-Fon's performance, I'm just wondering like how long in advance did everybody have coming up to this debate? Because it seemed like that Non-Fon got the word like just like a few hours before the actual debate.
It could have been. So I was asked when was it? Look, I'd have to run into Discord to figure it out, but I think I was asked like Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
So just a few days. Like this is something Gibbs has been wanting to do this, I guess, for a while. He's even got a cool logo and stuff, and he's really been pushing it to be part of it. Daniel Zahn, I do debate. I don't debate often, and I don't generically debate on my own channel. This is I consider my channel the Continental. No business gets done here. It's a good place. We have conversations. We talk about things. We review debates. We talk. It's a great place to just kind of just be cool. But I debate on other channels. And I may, maybe what's going to end up making sense is to do debates on my channel or stream it back to my channel or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm a good debater, but I have my moments, I think. So
I'm curious, would you be interested in moderating debates? Because I think
yeah, and I'm a good moderator. I've offered to moderate debates many times for people. So I'm actually like I was about to lose my shit that they didn't that Cluck guy it did not make an opening statement. He just jumped ahead to cross-examine, which that's wrong. It should have been he should have done his opening statement, and then it should have passed back to Lactoid to come in and start with the back and forth, right? That's the way that should have gone, even in Bloodsport. And of course I prefer Bloodsport than like pure Oxford debate, but either way it all works. 2 Scott, 1 Non-Fon. Scott wins. Flawless victory for Scott because there was no way that Cluck was going to vote for Scott because, well, he's not cool. We could just tell that kid, he's not cool. So anyway, yeah. So I would be open to hosting debates, moderating debates, all of that. Like it's all cool with me.
I just bring it up because Scott was mentioning today that he's looking for a moderator.
Okay.
Because he has people that wants to debate him. He just doesn't have a regular moderator around to do that.
Well, I'll message him. You're talking about Fabian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll message him and tell him that I'm more than happy to be a moderator. And I'm a brute. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff I've moderated. I can be pretty brutal, because it's moderation. Yeah. So how this channel would end. Just settling in. I was just curious how this channel would end up. We're not anywhere near ending yet, so I don't know.
I want to go ahead and answer Daniel's question. So
go ahead.
my accent is a combination of California, Florida, Massachusetts, and Oregon. So it's definitely a mudded accent, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gibbs is doing a bracket style series. That's what's up. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I personally like the idea. I'm gonna participate in it. I've had a lot of fun on Prime K's, whatever you say his second part of his name. I've had a lot of fun on Prime's debate panels. I think I'm a little too blood sport for them, but that's okay.
Yeah, Prime's does sound pretty tame. I feel like I wouldn't fit in very well because I would just try to take the stage on everything. This is why I prefer like 1v1s because I can just have at it.
Well, it's interesting because Scott, Scott's just Scott. He's going to talk, and he talks a long time. And the interesting thing is that a lot of times the subjects lately, and I think that honestly, I think Prime is purposefully doing this to keep me and a couple others from being aggressive. So he's picked topics I don't really care anything about, and that are really hard to get to get spicy over, right? So the first time I went on Gibbs show, on K's show, it was a good spicy topic, and I thought I went too hard, and I didn't think they were going to have me back, to be honest with you. And so like this week it was over the gambling, and I went. But the thing is that they're just so surface. They're all surface level except for Scott, and he takes a deep dive, and and most of the time there's nobody on there that really pushes back. The girls, and honestly, without the 2 girls or 3 girls that come on there rotating through, I don't know where they've been lately. Maybe I scared them off. There's not enough pushback from the dudes. The dudes just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's a little too much soy. Maybe it's not. Gibbs will just say some off the wall shit.
That's for sure.
Yeah, he just says off the wall stuff, and everybody laughs at it. But I go pretty hardcore at him, and I think that I'm a little too hardcore. But Prime tried to call me out on it last week. And it was over something that he misquoted me pretty hardcore. And basically I went ahead and answered that the way that I should have. I said, I don't think I said that, but this is this is where I stand on it. And then I circled back to what I actually said was, and then I addressed that as well. So, I don't, but he went after me pretty hard. It's just an interesting dynamic. I like being on that panel debate. It is pretty cool. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. Daniel's on. You just can't comment. Your voice isn't nearly asshole enough for my. Oh, I'm talking about you there. We still fucking with Josie. No, Josie is. She's welcome on the show anytime. Her schedule is such that she's just never on when I'm on. I don't have any problem with Josie. Every now and again, she would piss me off, but lately she's been okay and not that big a deal. And I kind of quit wanting a co-host. I think that having a co-host is handy sometimes, but for the most part, I can just carry the show by myself. I don't really need any help.
So get into the gritty of the debate.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
All right. So I kind of got some insight on where Non-Fun was going with his arguments because I hung out on his stream. And unfortunately, all of his arguments comes from one guy named Matt Brunig. I think that's what it's called. But basically, he's a democratic socialist that has surface level arguments against libertarians on Twitter. And he writes blogs about like the common arguments of libertarians on Twitter and stuff. So I kind of hinted at him to be like, do you think you should be getting all of your advice from this like one guy's posts? It's like, because what I'm thinking is if Fabian Liberty, there was a debate and a review of the debates that would develop a really good perspective on what he believes. And first was Andrew Wilson against him on libertarianism. And then he reviewed David Smith's versus Andrew Wilson. And he brought up a lot of points on like the libertarian values where it comes into anarcho-capitalism, anarcho-libertarianism, or on his own positions of how he believes libertarianism should be. And I think that's where the disconnect came from. But I also give Non-Fun credit in that he didn't really seem like he had enough time to really prepare, unless he just procrastinated up to the last minute.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Give me a minute on that. $9.99 from Wrongful Rage. Again, the way I made MB, that's Millionaire Bachelor, Rage quit a few weeks ago is epic. He did return for more. However, that guy deserved it, in my opinion. He certainly did. You know, it's interesting. He never comes to my channel. It's very weird. Like, it's very strange. He just doesn't chase me down. And but yeah, that guy, he just didn't have, he did not know what was ready for it, you know.
I find Scott really funny in that a lot of the times he acts like he's talking as if he's a father talking to his son or something like that.
He does have that. He's not talking down to you, but he's definitely like, I don't know how you would say it. He's not talking down to you, but he's talking in a fatherly way. That makes sense.
Like either as like a mentor or a teacher, a sensei, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he's got that thing. I do read the chats in first person because it sounds weird when I say my own name. I don't know. It's always been that way. But it's really interesting, I think, too. You know, I think there's a lot to what you said about Non-Fun's preparation. But the thing is that I have felt, and I could be wrong, but I have felt that most of Non-Fun's debate tactics are surface level. And I've honestly really felt like that he is what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word I'm looking for? It's prescripted.
Yeah.
Because you can, if you push him off of, so it's like he's on his island. He's got his notes. If you push him off of the island, he can't swim back. Right? He doesn't know. He doesn't know the material. He just, and you saw this in his debate with you. If it hadn't been for the socialists there, kind of backing him up, it would have just been terrible.
I admit I was so unprepared for that debate. So my mistake on that debate is I completely overloaded myself with information. And when it actually finally came to the debate, I was already so tired and brain fatigued that I was just like, I was already going into it defeated. But this is the first time that I actually dove into a topic that I was completely lost on. So it's like you learn from your mistakes. But yeah, to circle back on that point about non-Fawn's like surface level arguments, I've noticed that too, and it's because he's used to arguing within his generation where most of the people that he argues with doesn't even know their own positions. So non-Fawn, being an encyclopedia of knowledge, he could just list out a couple of facts and then his opponent is just going to go like duh, 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 and just like fall apart, you know. It's he hasn't dealt with people that are able to give back such that he hasn't dealt with people that can actually articulate their arguments and follow through with some, deep knowledge. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's very, very accurate. So I think it's, and like I say, it just really feels like that with and look, non-Fawn's smart. Like and I've told him this, like he has a good base of most of the common arguments. Does that make sense? Like he has a position on a lot of the more common thing. But again, it's once you push him past that, it seems like, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. It seems like that he's off base, right? Like, or he gets lost, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I don't know what everyone thinks about that. I think that it is. I think it's interesting. I think it's. I don't know. I think he does very well. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he actually, when you guys were having your debate, that first one, you guys were actually pretty respectful of each other and weren't really like going after each other hardcore, if that makes sense.
I'm a nice guy until I'm drunk. Then I become an asshole.
Yeah. Well, that's why wouldn't you be? But it's like I say, it's it's an interesting deal. I'm pretty happy with I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the way that everything kind of has wrapped up in the. I think the way Scott handled it was good. I feel like that Scott did. I think Scott did excellent when he literally said, "How do you want to lose this? How do you want to lose this argument?" Was literally the best. It was so awesome. Yeah, it was great. Like I could not even believe how hardcore that hit. Like that was nuts. And
and Scott was calling out non-Fawn's bullshit like multiple times, and I don't think non-Fawn is used to that kind of pushback as well. Somebody just flat out calling out, be like, "That's just bullshit," and just
on the good side. On the good side, non-Fawn really was able to, when he was pushed, he didn't get angry. He just kind of laughed, right? And it was, and which is good. That's a good response, right? Rather than get angry and spurg out or anything like that. I think it would take a lot to get non-Fawn to spurg out.
Yeah.
But I have seen a couple of times where people have pushed him. You actually did this You did this in one of the debates I watched you with him. You pushed him, and he just got wound up and started. You could tell the tension and aggravation level was rising, and now he got pulled back because that was a team debate, and the socialist basically distracted you from going after non-fawn. But I know that it can happen. You can push him to where he gets to where he's like, no, you can't deny that, and he just starts doing the destiny thing where it just ramps up,
Yeah.
And I noticed it because I was actually in one of his chats or watched a video of his the other day. I think he was live, and I just happened to swing in, and I noticed you seem to be watching him, or at least you're in his chat a lot. Like, I don't know whether that's watching an enemy or you're just kind of like, kind of pushing him along, hoping that he straightens out.
I'm definitely trying to push him along, because I feel like that a lot of people that come up to challenge him are freaking idiots. So I usually go on there to either challenge the idiots or to give like real arguments to non-fawn, playing like a devil's advocate, to get him to really think about his positions. Because he deals with these like these stupid MAGA hat Gen Z types that are just like, oh, Trump is always right. And why is he right? Because he's awesome. And it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
It's like actually like work out your arguments.
Yeah, absolutely. Silvar, you missed the commentary on the debate from this channel. It was great. You missed a wonderful evening spent with the kids. But listen, Daniel Zahn, buddy, thanks for the $5 on Cash App. Really appreciate that. It was hard to watch. I agree with you. I don't check my email very often, so it just now popped up. So thank you very much, Daniel Zahn. That was awesome of you. Silvar, you closed out, so you're back. You should have been here the whole time. It was great. It was wonderful. It was lovely. And it was a wonderful time had by all. Silvar, what's your impression of the non-fawn Scott debate? I personally, my honest opinion, we got a TTS coming in here.
Silver Ogre donated $20 super chat for all the streams I couldn't support.
For all the streams he couldn't support. I appreciate it. You are a wonderful, wonderful human being, Silvar Ogre. I really appreciate it. What's your impression of non-fawn versus Scott? I'm going to preface this by saying that, first of all, I thought it was literally like watching a 10th Dan black belt smack around a white belt on his first day. I'm going to be honest with you. I know that everyone thinks I know what everybody's going to say. Non-fawn did great. He did this. He had good art. Non-fawn didn't make a single argument. He didn't have a single point. All he could do is say that for some reason that you were entitled to this, or that socially that, it's okay for people to take your money. But he never gave an actual reason. He never made an argument, not even once. He just said a lot of words that didn't actually make a lot of sense. It was entertaining. It was great. It was wonderful. But Scott clearly pounded him into the dirt. And that was my impression of the entire thing. Ticky Tack, you're welcome to disagree with me on that. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you will. I just don't think that non-fawn had any sense of an argument to make.
Well, I think where non-fawn was trying to lead the argument was trying to subscribe to utilitarian values. And under the utilitarian values is that sometimes you would have to sacrifice sacrifice some of the rights and freedoms of people in order to do a better moral good, which is like, pull some money from the collective to aid on the less fortunate in healthcare. And that creates an overall like net positive.
And that would have been a great argument if it was his argument. He got that argument from someone else and he didn't understand it and he couldn't articulate it. So he never actually turned it into an argument.
Yeah.
All he could do was say, because of utility theory, basically.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. So he didn't understand it. He didn't have an argument. He just said a bunch of buzzwords, basically. It was like it's like the commercial where the guy just says a bunch of buzzwords, and the other guy's like, "What?" That's what I felt like watching, which is makes me feel bad for Nonfon because I like Nonfon and I think that he has a lot of talent as a debater. I think he has his potential to be really good. Obviously, Casimir predicts Nonfon will be a she/them inside a decade. What the over/under is on that. Scott did destroy him, but Scott destroyed him because he didn't have an argument, right? Like, I mean, I actually would have I give Nonfon a lot of credit for stepping up, possibly last minute. I give Nonfon a lot of credit for pushing back and at least trying to learn the libertarian detail or the details of Scott's worldview. The problem is he tried to use those details without actually understanding them to throw at Scott, which literally just gave Scott more ammunition to throw at him.
Yeah, because he's heard these arguments before. He knows how to refute them, and it makes his image look a lot better in the arguments. Where
absolutely,
it's like where Nonfon had to really come in is makes Scott justify why we should adopt his system. Immediately from the get-go, it's already presupposed that his system is the standard, and Nonfon is trying to fight the standard. But Scott hasn't even begun to justify why we should adopt his system.
Right. Yeah. Scott had everything in his favor.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's argued this so many times that he knows it front and back.
Yeah. And
Joseph says there are a lot of great ways to argue for a single payer system or have a nuanced opinion on social services. He could have started by getting concessions from the libertarian on what services are okay. Scott would have said that they're all okay as long as you're not using force, and which means they're not a requirement, right? This is the real problem. Oh, Scott was the last minute fill in, then that's terrible for Nonfon because if he knew that if he had a couple of days, then that makes it even worse. And I think that goes to what you're saying, Ticky Tack. I think that he's a bright light in a field of dim bulbs, and so if you argue against people that you can defeat every single time you talk to them, you're not going to get any better.
Yeah. Right.
And worse, you quit learning. You get lazy, and it honestly that's what it felt like to me. And I feel bad because I really think that Nonfon, if he can not turn into Destiny, he'll be a great debater.
Yeah,
for his side.
So I know Angry Casper is bringing this up again about Nonfon not having a foundation, and it's or just having a broken foundation. My point is, I don't think he has a foundation yet. I think he's still exploring the territory to figure out like what is, and the only reason why he has a position on the general like utilitarian values is because that's all that's been given to him. It's like right now he's going to college. I think he's in his first or second year, something like that, and he's being just only fed the typical rhetoric of the leftist progressive natures,
Yeah. And again, it seems like he was fed a lot of his arguments seem to be fed to him. So I could be wrong about that. I don't know that that's true, but
Yeah, I could see that, and I think I know the sources of it. But it's also just comes down to they're good friends, so it's not something that could really be changed. Other than, you know, having myself hop in there as a contrarian and just kind of challenge his points. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, again, I like the guy. I mean, I disagree with his viewpoints. I think that he's wrong on many, many things. But at the end of the day, seems like a good guy. He seems to debate. One of the things I do like about him is even though he said a lot of words without saying anything, at least it was in good faith for the most part.
He understands the game of debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows that generally it's like, even if you don't have anything to freaking say, at least say something and don't give up on your point, you know? Even if it sometimes comes down to shady tactics, like, you know, throwing a lie in here and there, but that's just kind of the game. And once it's done and over with, you could go and apologize for lying or misrepresenting somebody's point. You know, you were just kind of caught in a position where you felt like you had to. And that's the game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's accurate. I think so. As far as the Cluck guy, that guy was, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Like, that was, you know, that's literally like, I don't even know what that was like. It was just terrible.
Well,
like
what I would probably just use rhetoric against his claims, because I would just go to be like, why the hell should we care about what a whore has to say?
Right.
Because that's really what it is. It's like, okay, you're giving hush money to a whore. And it's like, that's so.
By the way, signed an NDA, broke the NDA, was sued for it in court, lost, and had to pay was it $130,000, $140,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, like,
and we shouldn't be taking it seriously. You know, it's like, it's just a thing that happened, and we know that a bunch of rich people, they hire hookers, just like a lot of other people. It's a common thing. So to like vilify Trump that he had a relationship, whether he was married or not, with a whore, it's kind of like, okay, and that seems like the standard nowadays. What's your point? What are you getting at? It seems like everybody's like so virtuous when it comes to trying to hold other people up to their standard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, yeah, but I mean, I agree with that. But Cluck's argument was nuts. Like, he was like, well, he broke business law, but he didn't actually name the law. He just said that there was a law that if he had intended to break the law while running, or if he had intended to
falsify business documents or something.
Yeah, falsify business documents to help him in his election, that would have been a crime. That would have been a misdemeanor. And that generically deals with if you buy a house using campaign funds in a district that you don't live in, or you are using campaign funds to pay someone to tear down your opponent's signs in places where they're legally permitted to be, things like that. That's what that law is kind of for, right?
Yeah.
But they can't even say what business law Trump broke.
Yeah.
Well, they paid these guys. Well, so that's not against the law. And the lawyer literally said, that's legal for us to pay someone to not testify, to not say anything. And that's within the lawyer's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And
there's two points on this that I think the reason, I think what they dialed it down to of why it was falsifying business documents was with how he signed his checks. Like
Was that it? I didn't.
yeah,
I did not hear that part.
yeah, I really think that's what it was. Is that he signed it? It was like 3 checks that he signed it over for towards this hush money, but it wasn't filled out correctly as to what is being paid for, kind of thing.
Sure.
Even though there was already a contract in place to know that, and if any lawyer
And
would look at the
obviously it's his
paperwork,
lawyer, right? So
yeah, and it's like anybody who's looking at the paperwork would see the price tag on that contract and look at the price on those like checks and be like, oh, these checks belong to this. It's like it doesn't matter what is written on that, but they still got him under civil suits to convict him on, and which that's another thing is that they're civil suits; they weren't criminal. So it's and honestly, they really don't hold up water other than just people who are quibbling on like antics to see about who should get what money over this liability.
Wow. I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I didn't actually know that that was really the quibble. I thought that the Shane, something just describe subscribe, became a member. Awesome, bro. Awesome, good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a man. I don't know it was all legal, right? Until he pissed everybody off, and then they needed to find something to get him for. And even at that, I think it's still illegal. Now, the interesting question was, why was he convicted? And that obviously is because of the way and you know, the lawyer didn't go there, but I will. There's so many problems with the way that the court happened. You know, from the judge not, putting in gag orders for no reason, for, things that shouldn't have been, that were technically outside his purview. The way he instructed the jury, basically telling them that they had to find him guilty, and all of these other things. And, and all that stuff's under appeal has been very troublesome for him. For the judge, not Trump. And it's just pretty insane. All of this is still going on, but I think it was a weak argument to first of all, it's not something I wouldn't want to debate a lawyer on that, right? Like that's a bad plan. If I want to debate a lawyer on something, I want to do it over something esoterical that, should, I don't know, whatever, should OF be legal because it's basically prostitution, something like that.
Oh, I found I have something to say on that portion afterwards, but go ahead with your point.
No, go ahead. That's it.
Oh, well, I thought of a really interesting like loophole around sodomy laws that I think might work. So generally there are sodomy laws in place to say that sodomy is illegal. However, the Supreme Court has ruled that it's allowed for people to do those acts in their own home because of the right to privacy, being that nobody can invade on a person's privacy to see if they are doing the acts. Well, what if it's pornography?
Oh,
pornography is now public. You've essentially just displayed the act of a crime.
Yeah.
Could that be sued against? Could people sue people who produce pornography that involves sodomy?
Well, there's no right to privacy there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a great question for a lawyer. That would be a great debate to have with a lawyer, actually. I don't know what position I would take on it. I'd have to think about it, but that's a great lawyer debate. So let's shift gears a minute because we're getting a little late. I'm about to have to go because it's almost 11 o'clock. We all know that I turned into a pumpkin
Huh.
11 o'clock. So guys, I gotta add, or Tiki Tack, let me ask you, man. How's everything going? You got anything burning? Anything really cool going on?
So yeah, I've been 3D printing a bunch of stuff to set up some access points. Like, you know how electrical boxes on roofs, they're meant to kind of slide underneath like the tiles. So those things are like 50 to 80 bucks for those electrical boxes. Whereas I can go and print one of those in ABS for like $5.
Okay.
You know, and I'm just like, damn, like this could probably be a business. I could probably go to like a solar electrical supplier or like a solar installation crew and be like, hey, I could like print you 100 of these for like $20 a pop. You know,
Yeah.
it's and so I'm kind of like floating that idea. And I just been having fun just designing things in CAD and 3D printing stuff.
I have a friend of mine who just bought 3 of Bamboo Labs commercial printers, which are the X1 something or the other.
That's exactly what I got.
Yeah, and he's got the X1C, which is their non-commercial. Just anybody can buy it. And he's got a couple. I think he's got 4 or 5 printers that run basically 24 hours a day. And
it's a lucrative business.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good stuff, but it's not a lot of money. But it's like he goes to work, he leaves them printing. With the AI and everything, they just work really good. And it seems like, I don't know. But it seems like that everything's going really good for him, and that at the end of the day, it's going to be awesome. We'll see. I don't know. I've been like, I hope it works out for him. He's printed out a lot of like disc golf stuff, which I don't know. I didn't know there was a market there, but I think that it's part of it is just finding the market, right? Just find the market.
I've actually been getting really interested in the like reinforced polymer plastics. Like there is this nylon carbon fiber filament that is like super tough and durable. Although it's probably not the best water resistant. It will absorb water and get flexible and things like that. But I'm wondering if there's a way to build like skeleton meshes of like these carbon fiber reinforced and then fiberglass layer around these skeletons in order to make like parts and frames for like bikes or something like that.
There's a whole world of that. And I actually do some 3D printing for my aircraft stuff. And it's so I just join the groups. I pay attention to what's being said. I ask questions when I can. So, but it's all different. Like it's very application specific, and it's all good stuff.
I'm definitely learning that because I began using the nylon carbon fiber for these brackets and electrical boxes on the roof until I learned their properties around like water, and then I was like, ooh, that's not the best. So I went out and actually like bought I think it's called ASA. It's like another form of ABS. That is specifically meant for like outdoor electrical boxes and stuff.
Chip and Flint says he needs a black and red marble pattern speed knob for his truck, and I want you to jump right on that.
I might be able to do that. I actually just bought like 10 different spools of filament of different colors.
Do you have the cartridge for the Bamboo Labs that runs the 4 spools?
Yeah, I sure do.
Awesome.
It's a lifesaver because I could just select whatever material that I use, and I also made and
they have a built-in dryer on those, which is awesome.
It turns out it's just a desiccant dryer, a chemical. Where it's like I generally don't care about buying their desiccants. I just use I get calcium hardener at a pool supply store, which is essentially a desiccant, and I put those in bags and put them in there.
Okay.
And that's it works well enough for like dirt cheap.
I have I have a dryer for my that does 2 spools at a time. So I just if I know I'm going to be
sweet
dry, if I know I'm going to be printing something, especially something that is like PETG or TPU or something like that, that's kind of water sensitive and it makes it a crappy print, then I'll dry it overnight, and then it's fine for the duration of the print usually. So
yeah. I usually throw mine onto the heat bed of the printer and heat it up inside of a box. And I also put some of that calcium chloride in like a small little cup and throw it in that box.
Sure. What do you think about all of the news lately with like the Utah House of Representatives lady resigning? I personally think she's being blackmailed. She just won like 4 weeks ago, and now she's saying that because of her business and personal life, that she's not going to be able to devote the time to it. So that's interesting. And then Fannie Willis is going to have to testify in front of the state Senate about possible collusion with Jack, whatever his name is. It just eludes me. Jack, the prosecutor, the federal prosecutor.
Yeah, I'm just now hearing about this. This is all news.
Yeah.
It's
So it's been a couple of weeks that they've been trying, been basically going through the layer after layer to dig down to get a federal subpoena for her to testify against Jack, whatever his name is, Jack Smith, Jack, whatever. So that because apparently they found text messages, emails, other documentation that they were talking back and forth about their 2 cases. And Jack Smith, thank you. I thought it was Jack Smith. Apparently they were very chatty with each other about private legal information, and which is it's against the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she's got to go before the state Senate in Georgia, and she may end up having to go before the federal government in a congressional hearing. Schmidt, is it Schmidt or Smith? Whatever, Jack. So Jack is in trouble, and Fannie, whatever her name is, she is in trouble again. She never is out of trouble. That woman is just asking to be in a jail cell. That's all I'm saying. So that's interesting. A lot of interesting news. I mean, all of the stuff with the Russian airliner that crashed. They've had like 8,000 different theories over the last 3 days on that. The lawfare, Patel and Elon Musk. Elon Musk, people like go with Elon Musk. The needle swings between absolute love and absolute hate, like every 24 hours. It's serious. Sure. Like it's crazy. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, Elon Musk is such an awesome dude. And then the next day it's like, oh, everybody hate Elon Musk because he did this. And, I saw that, what's his name? Alec Baldwin, had a problem with, Elon Musk, because of over his politics and positions. Thought that was interesting. And, I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk just said that, of the 2 of them, only one of them has shot somebody and gotten away with it. And
yep, I knew. I was expecting you to say something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's what was said, but pretty sure.
Hey, I would take a crack at a joke like that.
Yeah,
if I was Elon Musk,
and Elon would deliver it with just like perfect. He would be very acidic in his delivery of that.
Hey, so I think what you should probably do is on your Discord, put in a news channel and just post in links of the things that you're reading.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I should do that.
I think it would give a lot of people like some heads up on what you could talk about on your stream.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then the last thing, and I know that you've been waiting for this, is the H1B drama, right? MTG, if you didn't know, has been vocal about the MAGA civil war over H1B. I don't know that there's a MAGA civil war over H1B. I think that is the leftists just, just starting shit. They're just
Yeah.
starting shit.
Yeah, like I've never heard of like a conservative ever being like against immigration. They just are against illegal
Yeah,
immigration.
illegal immigration, right? Like nobody cares if you come here legally. Great.
I just absolutely hate how it's like the conservative party keeps getting like lopped in with like these extremist like nationalist groups and their like ideology. Because that's all I've been hearing coming from the left about this H1B stuff is that they're associating it to the the white supremacy that's going on or whatever, and it's just like
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Well, it's interesting to me because what you're really seeing is, it's, again, my opinion here. What you're really seeing is the idea that nationalism is bad. And yeah, sure, some nationalist organizations are bad in every country in the world. But that doesn't mean nationalism in and of itself is bad. Andrew considers himself a Christian nationalist, and I agree with his take on it. Right. I don't know that I'd go as far as he does, but that's okay.
It's a hard word to work around because the nationalist has been hijacked under a lot of like extremist groups.
Sure.
And so that's where people directly associate it, even though it's like the idea is not bad at all. Like, why wouldn't you want a national identity that everybody follows under? A common goal, a common culture where we all stand by. And this is kind of this is what I was like talking about with there's this allure to have something like what's called American nationalism, but the people who have coined that term are still of like those radical neo groups. So you can't call it that, even though it's probably best if we find a national identity that we can adopt.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, there's a and we're gonna start doing our final. Well, no, we got a few minutes. There's a concerted effort to brand and rebrand things in the worst possible light, and we really have to, as conservatives, moderates, whatever, we have to be very careful that we don't buy into that ourselves. And it's easy to do, unfortunately. So I would say, and I think I'd be right in saying this, I would say that there's no way currently that you're going to avoid being made the bad guy. It just is going to happen, right? Like, it doesn't matter what happens under Trump's administration, we're going to be a bad guy. It doesn't matter what we do, we're going to be the bad guy. What does matter is that the things we do are not bad. Right? So every time we vote, we can't just vote because that's what everybody's doing. We have to think about it, vote in the correct way. We have to talk to people in a very human way, which leftists don't do this, and this is the difference between left and right. When I talk to somebody about being a conservative, it's, I think, very warm, and I think it's pretty respectful. I've never ever thought that in any way that a leftist was being thoughtful or considerate when they talk to people about politics. It's like they're bludgeoning you over the head. And
yeah, well, it's because they have a presupposition that our positions are inherently bad for people.
Yeah.
It's and I think the way to break the barrier is to try to get them to admit that we both are kind of on the same page. We both want a lot of the same things, like both on the right and the left. We both can agree that we always want a better healthcare system. It's like we do feel like there's problems with the healthcare system right now, and we just have different ideas on how to approach that. And it's so if you could try to work them into the idea that we have common goals in mind, we just have different paths of how to get there. Sometimes you get them to start actually speaking to you more civilly.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. I'm and I don't, look, I don't want to I don't want to make it seem like that all left, so to be honest with you, I don't believe that all Democrats are bad. I more or less, I believe that most Democrats are good people. Leftists are totally different. And as far as I'm concerned, they could all march into the ocean. I would be perfectly happy.
Well,
John Mosman, how are you, sir? That's good to see you. Good to see you, sir. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Tiki Tat. Go right ahead.
Hey, keep it up with your chat. That's a good thing. So I kind of understand your sentiments as well when it comes to signifying like the left is hard to work with because of they are difficult to argue with, especially when they get backed in a corner. They use like really dirty tactics like lying and gaslighting. And it comes down to like these moral frameworks where it's like generally the left is agnostic or atheist, and then the more conservative or right side have some sort of religious backing. So we refrain from lying, whereas on their side, they have all justifications to lie if they see fit. Like if they see it as like a moral good to lie, they will do it. Whereas on our side, if we see some sort of good out of lying, we may fudge it a bit, but then we'll also look bad on us and repent. It's like it's still a bad thing in our book.
Right. Yeah. I think that's really accurate. I like that. That's a good comment. So, yeah, that's pretty good. We got $9.99 from Wrongful Rage. For an African American, Elon seems all right. Jokes. He's got jokes, guys. It's just a joke. It's not going to hurt you. Thank you, Wrongful Rage. That was awesome. Really appreciate that. That was great, man. That was awesome. That was really cool. So that's, I don't know. I don't know how we go. How I recover from that one.
It's Elon's pseudo black card.
Well, he is African.
Yeah.
Chris,
so he has a pseudo black card.
Yeah, Chris Lestrange is also South African. So that's it. Lying just proves you're not sure in your position, or they are too subhuman IQ to understand the truth. The issue is the whole "my truth." I'm assuming he meant quotation marks there. Got born from this. This is all fluid morals meme. 255 rip. You're not wrong, Angry Casper. You're not wrong at all. You may actually be very accurate, very correct.
It is a pretty accurate statement.
it's there's literally like the justifications that are used are what get me. Like the justifications are just crazy. John Mosman, merry third day of Christmas to you as well, sir. Very good to see you in the chat this evening. We will be back on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night will be a chill stream. We'll maybe even do a semi-open panel. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be very cool. A lot of fun. So that's all well and good. If you haven't, you should probably join my Discord. It's called The Shed, over on Discord, shockingly. And if you haven't joined, you should join. If you have joined, thank you very much. You should spend more time there, chat, goof off, say funny things. I'm not particularly funny myself, but others are, and I enjoy funny people.
And for all the people who just came in, make sure to hit that like button.
Yeah, let's hit that like button, guys. We got to keep the likes going. I know that everybody's in a hurry to run off to verbal combat. I will not be partaking in verbal combat tonight. I'm going to bed because I am tired. And yes, tomorrow night will be a chill stream because I will not be broadcasting from my front lawn, but because it's always a chill stream on Saturday. Saturday's the chill day. Get nice, relaxed. It's gonna be cool. Make lawn jobs great again. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a great debate tonight, guys. I really, it's unfortunate that Scott didn't drop in to say anything cool about the debate. It would have been awesome, but it was a really good debate tonight with Non-Fawn and Scott. Although, again, I think Non-Fawn needs a little work. He didn't really have a position. He just sort of adopted one from somebody else. That won't work against Scott.
I think more people need to go to Non-Fawn's Discord and just harass him about stuff. Every single time he's on live, he's in Discord, and you could hop on and chat to him right then and there.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so it's like if he just got more, if he got different perspectives from people, I think he'd be a lot better arguer.
Mm-hmm. Do I have anything going on next week? I mean, I'm not really doing anything for New Year's this year. I think my wife and I will just like chill out, hang out. We were talking about going to the lake house, but it's going to rain. So it's kind of why do that? Right. If you can't go out on the water, why do that? But, we've got it going on, and that's about it, man. I think we're going to do a, what else are we going to do? We're going to do my kids at camp. So I don't know. I don't know. We're just going to do some stuff. I got a bunch of work going on, and we got some, we're trying to move forward on getting this business bought. And maybe two, I don't know. We'll see. Get a twofer going on.
How about three? Just go for three.
Just go for a triple.
Yeah.
Triple play. Could be. The thing is that it just kind of makes sense if we do the there was, I don't know if it's still for sale or not, but there was an HVAC company for sale in the same area that the company that we're going to buy is in, and it's a good fit. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it would be something we could bring in, move it more into the commercial sector instead of the residential where they are now, and really make some, do both, of course, but really grow the company, hire people, all of that kind of thing.
So
Yeah.
I think what is also an interesting business in the HVAC world is cooling for data centers, because
Yeah.
and not only do
Air
they
balancing.
yeah
Air balancing is a big thing.
well, they're also getting into like large shared water cooling systems, and I know there's like a few businesses out here that build like water cooling blocks, and essentially like U racks that have like all the pumps and that feed out into the servers and stuff, and it's all proprietary, patent, in-house stuff that they do, and they feed like all the Austin data centers. I would think that would be a pretty cool business to get into, because it's like a little bit of machining, a little bit of HVAC, a little bit of going to the job site and making something unique.
Yeah. So I had a friend of mine in Colorado. Let me answer Chip and Flint here, because I want to make sure before I
Sure.
forget about it. Day shifts. Yes, absolutely. I should be on during the day, Monday and Thursday as normal, and hopefully we're doing a debate on Monday through Prime. Let me make sure. Let me just check my calendar, make sure I'm not going to be out of town or anything stupid like that, because that does happen. Wednesday is New Year's Day, which I will be on. Tuesday is New Year's Eve, which I don't do Tuesdays. So normal schedule next week, so no big deal there. Kind of coming back to that. So there was a company in Colorado that I worked. I did some work for, fabrication work, but they did air balancing, and they literally, so in a lot of specific environments, the air has to be the airflow balance through the building and through the different areas has to be matched. Otherwise, you get whistling, you get hot spots, cold spots, all of this kind of thing. And so the airflow balancing through a building is actually a really big thing. And I would assume that as the servers get larger, and as the cooling becomes more and more critical, that's going to be a thing. It's going to be a real thing. So I do need a lawnmower emoji, and I actually just talked to somebody who does emojis, so we're going to make some moves with emoji stuff. Tiki Tack, you got any last words before I send everybody off to the to somewhere? We'll probably send everybody to Verbal Combat tonight. I've been looking for somebody to be on, but it's slim pickings out there tonight, gentlemen. Slim pickings.
Yeah, I guess I would say that we have a new year coming of 2025. We have an awesome president. It might be a great time to start setting up some New Year's resolutions, because it's going to be a really exciting year. So if I don't see any of y'all by then, I hope you have a happy new year.
Well, that was short. That was a lot shorter than I was expecting.
I try to keep it short.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, it was great show tonight. A lot of really cool things discussed. I was actually really impressed with Scott keeping it brief for the most part, briefer than he normally is. And I really, I'm really, I don't know what the right word is. I'm really happy that the debate went the way that it went. I think that for the most part, how to put this? For the most part, everybody was good faith. That was That's great. Non-Fawn, again, I have high hopes for him. I think that he'll be a great, truly great
asset.
Debater. Yeah, asset.
Opponent.
Yeah, an opponent. He'll be a good asset to the debate community once he kind of gets his footing under him and learn, gets a little bit more and gets kind of out of the crowd that he's in now. I know we always say that, this crowd's holding him back, that crowd's holding him back, but in this case, pretty much his crowd's holding him back. And you know, which is, you know, look, that's, as much as we don't want to admit it, that is the way things go. So guys, have a good rest of your night. I know it's 15 minutes early, but I'm gonna knock off. Have a great rest of your night. Listen to Andrew Wilson laugh his ass off at these stupid bimbos, and be cool. Wear glasses if you need them, and get off my lawn.
Yeah, I just answered your question. Can you tell me what epistemology means?
Epistemology is the study of the epistles. I mean, you can. I told me that a husband and wife is supposed to be the representation of God and the church. He said he's a husband. I asked him if he sees himself as the embodiment of God, and he said no. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what is the epistles?
The epistles are the apostles. Are you talking about the